just totally turn you around, and you're going to learn things that you never thought possible before. And I thought that it was a good idea, rather than get into the what this rabbi said and what that rabbi said and what the Talmud said. I thought it would be a disservice. It would be a disservice to you if I don't teach you this, because this is something that there's a lot of wrong thinking out there. There's a lot of people out there that read the Bible, and a lot of people study the Bible, and you know that reading and studying, that is all good. Nothing wrong with reading and nothing wrong with studying. But the problem is this, that if two people read the same text, they will walk away with different understanding. Neither of the two will have the same understanding. So this is imperative. If 10 people read the same text, they don't walk away with the same understanding. Problem is this, that there are scriptures that you probably read every day, and I can guarantee you that your understanding will totally different to my understanding. And I believe that personally, I want to be respectful to everybody. I don't want to sound disrespectful to anybody, but I'll tell you this much, that the anointing that God has placed on my life and allowed me to see what many others can't see. So I use my anointing, I use the fact that God has placed me here to help other people to see something that will ultimately be of benefit and help to you as well. And this is, I think, this is very key to your lives. This is very key to your daily living, especially because the whole point here is that, yes, we are going towards restoration, where God is going to bring us to a perfect state in Israel. But right now, we've got to understand that we are in an imperfect state, and that's the problem. The problem is this, that a lot of us are failing to realize that we are living in the diaspora. God has placed us in different parts of the world, and He has not placed us in these parts of the world to be perfect. We will never be perfect whilst we are in the diaspora. It will never happen. But I think that many people fail to understand that point. We try to go out there, we try to find the perfect people, people like me, I'm going to go and find people like me who I don't know, who read the scriptures, maybe, I talk about games, I don't play any games these days, but, there was a time I used to play the computer game on the laptop. It was called Command and Conquer. I haven't played that for years now. So, you kind of look for people that are similar to you, similar makeup, similar behavior, but that's not really what we should be doing. Because, you heard of the saying, opposite attracts. So sometimes it's better to step out and to do something totally different, and to be with people who are somewhat different to you, because, different things can complement you in different ways. And so I think, this is something that we learn as we go along. And one thing that's, always apparent to me as I travel a lot, travel to different countries and to different cultures and see how people behave and how they act. And one thing that's always in front of me is that there is no such thing in this world today where we are as perfection. Perfection don't exist. It's just perfection is just a word, and it doesn't exist. Nobody's perfect in this world. Everyone over here carries their own little nuances and carries their own faults. And we just have to, just as we have friends, and just as we have friends, and we want, we love those friends, and they love us, and they have their faults, and we don't discard those friends because they have their faults. Well, unless your friends were, I don't know, if they were, if they had serious problems, then you might consider, if they were holding you down, if they were pulling you down, then you might consider thinking that I don't want to be with that friend because it's pulling me down. Because there are different types of friend and there's different types of family. I was reading about a plane, and the way a plane moves is a plane lifts, and for a pilot, for a man that flies a plane or a woman, they have to lift the plane. So it has to lift first, then it has to thrust, and you have to be careful about the drag on the plane as well whilst it's thrusting. So there's three types of motions in a plane. So question is this, that this can be applied to people as well, the three types of motions to people. So you have those friends I have some great friends, and some of those friends, I don't have many, very few. Those few friends that I have, they're like thrusters. They're like lifters and they're thrusters. They lift me up and they will thrust me. They will encourage me when I see them. We'll sit down, we'll talk together, and they will lift me up, with the funny jokes and humor, and they will thrust me forward, give me ideas of what they are doing in their lives, and how maybe I can do something that will benefit me in the same kind of lines. See, then you have your draggers. Your drag friends are those that pull you down, or maybe it could be a brother, maybe it could be a sister, maybe it could be somebody in your family. They drag you. You see what happens every time you go to them, they want to control you. They're controlling, and they drag you. And what happens is that when they control you and drag you, they make you emotional. You see, I had that in my family. There was a person I won't name that did that. He would always try to make me emotional. He would try to drag me down to his level. Every time I see him, you have more money and you are better off than me, and you should help me and you should lift me up, and these are the kind of things that he would say to me, and then he would try to drag me down. And every time I was in his presence in those old days, I mean, that's not the case now. In those old days, I was in his presence. All the time I'd have to listen to this lecture that, I'm so well off and he's so down there on the floor, and he needs me to help him, and he needs me to tell everybody else to help him, to lift him up. So you will have family like that, maybe even friends. Those are the people that you don't want in your life. Draggers, don't want them. You have to let go. You have to let go of people that are controlling. Because if you don't let go of people that are controlling, the problem is going to be that you're going to be very unhappy. The only person that's going to be unhappy in that situation is you, not them. It's very important to understand that. So remember, in life, you are the one that makes choices for your life. Nobody forces you to make choices. You have to make your own personal choices. And so the choice that should be made in these particular events is that you should be with those people that lift you up and that thrust you forward. You should have those kind of friends and family that you want to be with. But if there's a person who drags you all the time, makes you feel guilty, makes you look bad because they are not doing so great because of the choices they've made, and now they're forcing you to always feel guilty about it. There are people like that in everybody's life. I'm pretty sure everybody has a person like that in their life. And we really need to come out of that drag person. We need to stop letting people drag us, because God has a great future for us. God has abundance for us. But how are we going to get our abundance if we're going to allow people to drag you down? Years ago, when I was trying to get to the place where I eventually got to, I had people like that around me. I had family that were dragged. They were just negative. They would speak negative words. They would never encourage me. They would never say a word of encouragement about my future. They were always speaking negative. And you know what I did? I stayed away from them. I would hear them once, and I would never go and sit in their homes. I would never visit them. I would rather stay in my house. Back in town in England, I would rather stay in my house on my own. I would not go and visit these people. I would not sit with them. I don't want to hear their negativity. I don't want their negativity in my life. And this is very, very important and key, because our body that God has created is energy. And I want to read something to you, and I think it may help you to understand. I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 1, because that's where that's where everything starts. Genesis chapter 1. And this is a new beginning. This may be a new beginning for you, because Genesis talks about a beginning. And this is going to be a beginning for many people. So it's Torah Parsha Beresheeth 1:1-6 say, in the beginning Elohim powers created the Shamayim and the land. The land was desolate and chaotic, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Elohim, the Holy Spirit, was fluttering over the face of the Shamayim. And Elohim power said, light be, and light was. And Elohim power saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim power separated the light from the darkness. Elohim powers called the light day, and the darkness He called night. So the evening and the morning were Yom Echad, day one. And so we move forward to day one, basically, where we have this situation going on, where night and darkness is separated. Here we argue about, it was a daylight, it was a sun, it was a night light. But what is clear, everything was dark. This is very clear. Everything was dark. Hoshech in Hebrew, dark. And then what did God separated the darkness? So what did He call light? He called daylight light. In other words, sunrise is the start of the day, not sunset. Many people are running around, again, unfortunately, religions of this world, doctrines of this world will teach you all sorts of wrong things and a mess. You want to come out of that. And verse 6, and Elohim said, expanse be in the middle of the Ma'im, and divide the Ma'im from the Ma'im. And thus Elohim brought about the expanse and divided the Ma'im which were under the expanse from which were above the expanse. Let me give you a different synopsis on this. Totally different. A different way of looking at it. Here God is separating water from the water. He says from the top, from the bottom. I just gave you an example of draggers and thrusters and lifters. What does God do over here? What does water represent? You see, water in the Holy Bible, in the scriptures, can represent the commandments of God. It can represent God's word. But water can also represent people, nations. So if water can represent different people, different nations, what does God do? He separates the two people, top and the bottom. Remember what I just told you? The draggers and the thrusters? Well, God did the separation. Now you imagine God is doing that. He's separating two types of people. You have the thrusters, you have the lifters, and you have the draggers. And then it says, God divided the Ma'im, which were under the expanse, from the Ma'im, which Ma'im means water, which were above the expanse, and it was done. So we must do that in our lives. So what I just gave you earlier, it must be done. And with that, it's imperative that I bring this understanding to you, because it's so imperative. And I'm going to give you something, a joke. This will probably help. Usually my joke comes a little late. There was a kindergarten teacher. This kindergarten teacher gave a class a show and tell assignment of bringing something to represent their religion. The first child got in front of the class and said, my name is Benjamin and I am Jewish and this is the Star of David. The second child got in front of a class and said, my name is Mary, I am Catholic and this is the crucifix. The third child got up in front of his class and said, my name is Tommy and I am Baptist and this is the casserole. So there you have it. So I thought that was kind of pertinent to read that joke, and I thought it was kind of representative of what I was going to teach today, because a lot of people are running around with symbols. They carry symbols, and they believe that these symbols, their leaders, their ancestors, or their church leaders in the past have decided that these are symbols of their religion. And so these people are taught to carry these symbols with them. And see, everybody likes to put you in a box. Have you noticed that? Wherever you go and you speak about something, and somebody will say to you, well, what denomination do you belong to? Or, what religion do you belong to? And, you kind of keep that fact secret. You don't want to talk about it. Why? Because this is something personal to you, and you don't want to be boxed. I go and speak to the people all over the world, and I don't want to be boxed for them to think, oh, well, he is Christian, oh, well, he is Catholic, oh, well, he is Jewish. I don't want to box myself. So I never give them what I follow. I always tell them the commandments of God, the voice of God. Well, let them work hard. Which voice of God? Because there are many gods in the world, So you let them keep guessing. So this is the way that I generally do it. So what happens is, like recently when I was in a plane, I was discussing this, evangelism basically. This Muslim guy right next to me was a Muslim soldier in Qatar, and he started to discuss evangelism, and that's why I let him discuss evangelism. And so I was listening to him, and I didn't tell him what I followed. He obviously maybe wanted me to tell him, but I just let him continue. And I let him continue. I didn't tell him what I followed, and And so he was kind of curious. He was kind of curious, but he knew that I was not following the same faith as he was. And so he kept talking about his religion and what he thought about his religion, and he basically he wanted me to understand that why he loved his religion, why he loved God the way he did, and why he prayed in the mosque and all of that. And I just quietly listened to him, and I just basically turned around and I used his own paradigm. You see, he had this religious paradigm, he had this religious method, and he wanted me to understand why his method was better than everybody else's. And I just had to crush the whole thing, the whole scenario by saying, well, look, I said, listen to me. I said, I hope you don't mind me saying this, and don't take offense, but here is what I'm going to say. I said that you believe that your prophet is going to save the entire Muslim race that follow him, that are under his, let's say, not influence, but under his, let's say, guidance or commandments, whichever way you want to see it. And so he basically turned around and said, yeah, that's true. In other words, it's like a sect, all the sect that follows Muhammad's, they call it the Sunnah, meaning the commandments and the sayings of the disciples of Muhammad. And so I said, all of these sayings you follow, and you believe that you're going to be saved, you're basically going to go to heaven. They are told that they're going to cross a bridge. They're going to cross a bridge on the afterworld, and those that are sinners will fall off the bridge, and those that are not sinners, that are saved by and through Muhammad, they will cross that bridge. And so they talk about that bridge sometimes. So anyway, so he was talking about that. So I said, fine. I said, you agree with that? He said, yes. I said, well, let me give you an example. Oh, the Dajjal is something totally different, I'm afraid. We're not talking about Dajjal here. And so I said, let me give you an example. Just as you believe that the Muslim faith, or at least one side of the Muslim faith, because Muslims have different beliefs as well. They're not all the same. And so I said, one side of Muslim faith believes that the sect of Muhammad is going to be the one that's going to be called into the heavens. He said, yes. I said, okay, fair enough. I said, let me take the Christians. And I said, the Christians believe that Jesus has done it all. He has paid the price, and just as your model says Muhammad will do it, I said their model says Jesus will do it, Jesus of Nazareth. So I said, well, if you ask me, I've got no problem with the model of Christianity. I said, I have no problem with your model, with your belief system, and I have no problem with the Christian belief system. That's what the Christians believe, and I just have to say then, yes, kudos to them. Kudos to the Christians, and kudos to you people. And I just left it at that. See, this is what I mean by boxing people. You see, I don't like myself to be boxed. I don't want people to then say, oh, well, he is, this X, and put an X in the box. There is no X for me, because that's just not, my faith is not on the form which says, what are you? Are you Muslim? Are you Christian? Are you Jewish? Are you other? Well, there's no box there for a Hebrew, and there's no box there that says following the voice of God, the God of Israel. There's no box there, so I can't put a box over there with saying that other. Just put other, which means that I'm none of the above. So this is the thing that you'll come across. But what I find interesting is that just as I was speaking earlier about God separating things, we as human beings, we do exactly the same thing, 100%. We do exactly the same thing. We are also separators, just like God. We are also told and shown by God, the example is set. The example is set that just as God did it, we have to do it too. See, here it says in verse 10, and Elohim called the dry land earth, and the collecting together of the ma'in he called seas. Remember we were speaking about water and the sea, water being people? Well, here you have it. See, he's saying that the water collected together is seas in the literal, but in the symbolic, it's actually people. So, what does he say? Collecting together. So what do we collect together? We collect together those friends, that family that we know love us, encourage us, lift us up. And we reject and we separate that family, those friends that are drag. They drag us down. They are making us feel guilty. They're always, well, why are you up there and why am I down here? And, it must be your fault kind of thing. So we have to separate those people. And then it says, and Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass. The herbs that yield zirah, the herbs that yield seed, and the fruit that yields fruit according to his kind. Beautiful verse, whose zirah is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. Well, what do we do with our friends? We want to gather friends who lift us up, who thrust us forward. And what do we do with our spouses? Well, we want to have fruitful spouses. In other words, spouses that lift us up, husband or wives that lift you up, that are with you, that are fruitful. Same with the friends. They are fruitful. So they produce good fruit. They have good seed inside them. We don't want to be sitting in a circle of friends, kind of, I don't know, out of their mind. Like I went to England, all these people that were sitting there out of their mind at, 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night. They're all smoking pot and they're all, drinking, and they're all out of their mind. That was not my place. I was long out of there. I wouldn't even sit there. So the thing is that there are places like that. There are people like that, and all they do is they drag you down. They are draggers. They won't lift you up, and that's not an environment you want to be in. Since God did it, we must learn that we have to do it as well. We must do it. And as we can see in verse 14, it goes on. And I can speak about these verses. There's so many things in these verses. It says, Elohim said, let there be lights in the expanse of the Shemaim to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs for the Moadim, celebrations, appointed times, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the expanse of the Shemaim to give light upon the earth, and it was so. Now imagine for a second if the earth was the earth is my home. It's your home, it's my home. Imagine now the earth is actually your house. It's your home where you live. So if it's your home where you live and you're the light of that house, who would you bring into your home? You would only want to bring in those people into your house that bring light, not darkness. So you have to separate the two. Very important concept, and we forget that. We forget because sometimes, we think, oh, well, I just take somebody from outside. And I made that mistake, by the way. I made these mistakes. I took people in my home that I should have never taken in my house. And I had all sorts of problems afterwards. And I realized that kindness has to be measured. Mercy has to be measured. You can't be just merciful all the time. Mercy, 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 mercy. Kind, 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 kind. And then you get knocked on the head. So you have to be very merciful, but mercy has to be controlled. You have to be kind, but kindness has to be controlled as well. You can't be unlimited kindness. There's no such thing as unlimited kindness and unlimited mercy. I've fallen into the trap of unlimited mercy and kindness, and I've ended up, with all sorts of issues and slander. So I will never do that again, and I encourage you never to do that. Never to bring people into your house. This is the place of your light. Your light is there. You are the light of your house. You are the leader. Your family is there. You nurture your family, your spouse, your wife, your children. You want to protect your wife. You want to protect your children. You don't expose your children. You don't expose your wife to people that are nefarious, to people that only bring darkness into the house. You don't want to do that. So this is why a very, very important lesson. Very important. Never take your kindness to unlimited. Never take your mercy to unlimited variety. It's the wrong kind. There's no balance. It will hurt you in the end of the day. So, and Elohim appointed and brought forth two great lights, and the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. Well, I just reading that verse, and it reminded me of the spouse, the husband and the wife. The greater light, the husband, he rules the day. He goes out, he works, he brings in the bread. I guess these days the wives work as well, so it doesn't fully apply, but in a way, the lesser light, if you thought the lesser light is the wife, she rules the night, well, she doesn't quite rule the night, but she's kind of rules the home. She rules the house where the light dwells. And it says in verse 17, we kind of go over to these verses, and we finally come to the verse that says in 27, and Elohim powers created Adam in their own image, in the image of Elohim powers created male and female, created them. Boom, there's a man and woman created. Okay, now that is something, isn't it? That God has created the man, and now after He creates the man, He even puts him in a garden. But what does this actually teach us? What does it actually teach us? And I want to bring it back to the separation part. I want to bring it back to the separation part in which God said, separate the minds, from the top and the bottom. And we always try to think in linear terms. We think, okay, well, that's just talking about water as well. There's some water above us, there's some water beneath us, and God separated. But actually, this separation is not just mine in the physical, but this is also people and our families within us that we have to separate. And I want to here point out in Luke chapter 9, verse 60, Yeshua of Nazareth, Jesus said, speaking to the people, speaking to the disciples, and He said to them, He said, let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God. Powerful words, real powerful words. But do people even understand what those words mean? And I remember sitting in a church one time, and people wrestle with those words. Even at that time, they were wrestling with them and thinking, well, what does it mean? What does it mean by dead? Let the dead bury the dead. And there was a Jewish teacher, a Jewish Christian man, and he came and he was speaking to the people, and he was saying, well, I think I know what that means. I think it means this. So he gave a meaning about that particular verse, and I didn't agree with his meaning, period. So, it sounded nice, but it wasn't the meaning. Because let the dead bury the dead didn't mean, or at least the idiom he thought it meant. And this is what I found. I found later, found in my studies, as God opened up the scriptures to me, I found that scriptures must be open to you. If scriptures are not open to you, I could be reading the Bible every day, like a rote. Every morning I get up, I read my little portion of the Bible, but I get nothing out of it because I don't know what I'm reading. Because here is what somebody said something. I heard this from another person, and I thought it was very good what he said. And he basically turned around and said this: read, not to read, but read to understand. Read to understand. You see, that most of us read, but we don't read to understand. So when he said understand, he said understanding meaning from the other person's perspective. Okay, so if I'm trying to understand, I have to place God in perspective, not man. So I now have to understand, I can never understand God's mind fully, because I'm not in God's place. But I'm not trying to understand God's mind, at least a little bit, to give me the understanding what God is saying. What does dead bury the dead mean? It says, but he said to another in verse 59, follow me. Those are the two words that the Messiah, Jesus, said to me, follow me. And he said to the same verse to this guy, follow me. But he said, permit me first to go and bury my Abba. But he said, let the dead bury their dead. But you go and proclaim the kingdom of Elohim, the kingdom of God. And another also said, Rabbi, I will follow you, but let me first go bid them farewell, which are at home and at my bait, at my house. And Yeshua said to them, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of Elohim, kingdom of God. My goodness, what a verses. When I got this revelation, when the Messiah spoke to me 20 years ago, I didn't think, well, let me go bury the dead first. Let me go bury my relatives. Well, let me go tell my home. I didn't think like that. When those two words struck me, it was like flash lightning, like flash golden lightning type of thing. I had to suddenly, straighten up, sit up straight and think, what is this? I just heard two words. And then again I heard those two words when I kind of questioned it. And I thought, okay, my decision was made right then that I'm going to follow this person, this God that spoke to me. I'm going to follow God. My decision was already made right then and there, in split second like this. Because when a person is waiting in anticipation, that person doesn't question and doesn't say, well, let me go and, arrange with my family and tell them that I'm no longer with you and then I will follow this one. None of those things were in my mind at that time. I was like, that's it. I got what I need. I'm going to follow God, period. And so I was decided. So these words to me, let the dead bury the dead, means make the decision now, right now. That's what I did. I buried my dead. Boom. All of you, my family, you're dead. You're finished for me. I'm going to walk with a living God from now on. That is what let the dead bury the dead means. It doesn't mean, he's waiting for inheritance. This is what the Jewish man who was a scholar, he gave the terminology that it means he was waiting for the inheritance. Nothing to do with inheritance whatsoever. Nothing. Because what the Messiah was saying is, make a decision right now. Right now I want you to decide. And if you're going to walk with me, you're going to have the kingdom of God. If you're going to walk with me, you will have the kingdom. It's not a future thing. Oh, well, when you do 100 commandments, you'll have it. No, right now you can have it. But the decision has to be right now. Instantly. Second decision. So if you're a right side mind, they have the right side and the left side of the mind. Well, if you're the right side of the mind, boom, 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 your decision is made. You're not going to hang around. If you're the left side of the mind, well, what are you going to think? Give me facts, give me figures, show me how. Left-sided mind people will say, give me facts, give me figures. Before I purchase something, I need to know all the facts. I need to know what this thing does. And then you can convince that person. But right-sided mind people are fast. They're quick. They are done, dusted in seconds. So this facts and figures are good, but here we had no time for facts and figures. Imagine I have my whole family in front of me. Right? Am I going to now wait for my family to decide if I'm going to follow God or not? That's not the decision God needs from me. If that's the decision God needed from me, then I'm not worthy of the kingdom. Why would He give me those words for me to wait, go discuss with the family? Is the wife happy? Is my children happy? Is my dad happy? Is everybody else happy? Okay, if everybody is happy, now I can go and follow God. So He didn't want that decision from me. Basically, I wasn't worthy. That was my viewpoint of how I decide, based on facts and figures. Well, let me see, has Yeshua of Nazareth, has Jesus of Nazareth materialized? Has anybody else seen Him? Has anybody else heard His voice? Let me go ask in churches, has anybody else heard His voice? Am I just hearing things? You see, all those facts and figures are no good to me. They don't give me the kingdom. In order for me to get the kingdom, I need to decide pronto. Right now, Simon, you're in a $100,000 job. You've got to decide who you're going to follow. You're going to follow your family or you're going to follow God. And Simon decided, here it is Simon today. My decision is right in front of you. What I decided is right in front of you. This is what God desires from us. God doesn't desire from us facts, figures, well, why I can't do this, because a lot of people come to God and they say, facts, figures, why I can't do this. God doesn't want to hear it. God wants to hear, yes sir, only from you. Because if He's going to call you into the kingdom and He's going to give you a mission, He wants yes sir people only. He doesn't want, well, maybe, if my wife agrees, if my dad doesn't mind, if my mom gives me the blessing. God doesn't want those things. Because if God wanted those things, He would put His revelation into each of those people's heads or hearts, and they will be all equally, following God as well. But you and I both know that that's not the case. Your mother doesn't agree with you sometimes, your father doesn't agree with you, your brothers don't agree with you, your wife doesn't agree with you. All of these things happen. We know that. So we have to let the dead bury the dead. Very, very imperative and important method. Now, let me tell you something. What did God do in Bereshith? He did a lot of things. He didn't just create the planets. Didn't just create the worlds. He did a lot. He created the first human being, known as Adam. So the Almighty God Yahweh, who's the Creator, He not just created Adam. He also, because if God has creative powers, God has tremendous creative powers. We are also little creators, by the way. we also have creative powers. Well, let me tell you, this is a secret now. You also have creative powers. Because if we didn't have creative powers, how would we create our world? Think about it. How would I be holding this phone in my hand? That's sitting on my desk here. How would I be holding this phone if we didn't have creative powers? How would I be speaking to you today if I didn't have a laptop? These are the creative powers that God has endowed in a human being. We are the penultimate, we are the best creation. We are the best creation of God. God has created many creatures, many planets, but we are the top prize possession of God. We human beings have intellect. We have intelligence. We have understanding. We can create our environment. You might say, well, Rabbi, what do you mean create? How can we be creators? Because we can't create like God. Well, I'll challenge you that you don't have to create like God. You create like we're supposed to create, like human beings. Like, when you buy a home and you want to set, things a certain particular way. You want a sofa in one place, you want TV in the other place, you want fridge over there. That is creation. That is design. You're creating. And what happens before you create your home? What happens? You think about it. You decide on it. You don't just go out and buy a house. You have to first make that decision to buy the house. So you start saving up. You make a decision, you save up for it, then you buy your house. Once you bought your house, you already have planned in advance in your mind. You already planned in your mind. You say, well, I'm going to put this kind of sofa in my house. I'm going to have this kind of TV, and I'm going to put this kind of cutlery in my kitchen and utensils. And I think I'll buy this type of stove. All of that is there. So you are able to create your own reality. Think about it for a second. You can create your reality if you wanted to. Now, if you say to me, Rabbi, I want to buy a house, right? But I'm struggling. And I'm going to ask you, have you thought about it? Have you thought about it in your head, in your design, in your goals? Have you written it down? Have you written it down? That you're going to buy a 2-bed, is it a 2-bedroom house? Is it a 1-bed? Is it a 3-bed? Is it a 4-bed? What is it? What is it? What is your reality? And what are you going to do? Turn around, oh, well, I don't know, Rabbi, it could be 2, 3, whatever. No, you have to make that decision. Just as God made the decision. Think about what God did. God made a decision to create. We have to make a decision to create. If I don't make the decision, I don't receive. Simple as that. This is absolutely, if I've given you something today, I want you to think about it. You are able to create it, but you have to decide it. If you don't decide it, if you don't make the decision, you'll never arrive. You will never arrive where you want to go. 20 years ago, let me tell you, 21 years ago, I was in America. 21 years ago, I had the opportunity to get a green card. But I let go because my son was ill at the time. I went back to England. And when I went to England, 20 years ago, or 21 years ago, when I got redeemed, when the Messiah called me out, and I considered myself redeemed of God, saved, and what happened after that, God showed me something. At that point in time, God told me that I asked a question to God. I said to God, can I go to America again? He said, yeah, you can go to America as many times as you like. And I used to come to America 3 times a year, right? And then I said, but can I live in America? And then, there was a pause. God sometimes does his pauses to allow you to, query God further. So I asked God, I said, can I live in America? And then God said to me, yes. He said, you can go to America as many times as you like in a year, but there will come a time that you will live in America as well. But it is not yet. I remember distinctly my conversation with God, can I live in America? And when will I go? And God said to me, I will tell you when you're going to go. That me going to America took around, I don't know if it was 17 years or 16 years. It was around that time. It took 16 years for me to come back to America to live over here. Imagine that. That's the amount of time I had to wait. But God had already told me 16 years earlier that I was going to go to America and live there. So it wasn't a hidden, a hidden fact, or it wasn't something I didn't know about and it hit me in the middle of the day. No, I already knew that it was going to happen. I didn't know how, didn't know why, I didn't know where. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know how I was going to come over here, but I knew that God's going to bring me over here. And Baruch Hashem, the Lord Jesus Christ, the Master Jesus, that I'm here. 2015 I came over here, packed my bags, and God told me to go, and I'm here. So God never lies. Listen to God. And when I say listen to God, I'm going to point two fingers back at me, because I'm the one, the antenna, listening to God. And if God has put Kohen in your gate, let me ask you a question. But before I ask you that question about the Kohen in the gate, are you interested? Are you committed to the Kohen in the gate that God has placed there, that can change your entire life and your future? That's the question that you have to answer. Because many of you are still on the fences. You still don't know whether you want to follow the Kohen in the gate or whether you don't want to follow the Kohen in the gate. But at the same time, I want to give something today in the spirit. This has been on my mind, on my heart since yesterday, and God wants me to speak this today. And this is for the people. Maybe they're listening in on the PAL talk, maybe they're listening in on the MP3. This is for you. God has told me three things yesterday. Number one, that there is a person that is lost a relationship, and they are very upset. They are crying. I feel it in the spirit, and God showed me that to tell them that their relationship can be restored. They need to look up to God, and their relationship can be restored. I have never said this before, and not making this up, but God can restore relationships as well. A marriage that is broken down, a marriage that's even gone into divorce, God can restore that. So that person, whoever you are, God has sent you this message that your relationship can be fully restored. Trust in God, believe in God, and He will restore your relationship. The second person that I want to speak to is a person who is right now struggling for a job. And God wants this person to know that a job is on the horizon. A job is coming, a better job, and with a prosperous future. He needs to trust, he or she, they need to trust God. The third person is having problems in their life with offspring, seed, children. They're having difficulty having children, or perhaps whatever reason it is in their lives, God has given a message for them that you're going to have a child in your life. Hold on to the trust, hold on to the faith of God, never let that faith go. You're going to get your child. Don't be discouraged. Don't allow people to discourage you. For all three of these people that came to me yesterday, don't be discouraged. Don't allow events, people to discourage you. God has a great future for you, great reward. Trust God, put your faith in Him, and you will receive what you are expecting. Now that's that part. Now the next part, I want to take you back to Abraham, because I thought Abraham is a great part. And also I want to encourage the women in the room and outside the room. I want to encourage the women, because the women are also the builders of our world. You are also the builders of our world. You are the creators also of our world, because you create, you make these beautiful children that God gives you. And through these children, our world is made. Because we cannot have children without your help, without you being there. So, in a marital relationship, a child cannot be born. Even in a non-marital relationship, a child cannot be born without the two coming together. And that child one day is going to be an engineer, a doctor, a president. But without that creation that's going to happen between man and the woman, there can be no world. So our world needs the women as well. Just as much as God needs the men, we need the women too. The men need the women. So women need to understand that they have a very important place in time, space, and history. And you need to be encouraged, because without you, our world can't move. We can't get there. We can't do the things that we need to do. So, without those children, without those sons, without those daughters that one day going to be, great people, we're not going to get there. So, you need to be encouraged about that. On top of that, I wanted to bring it back to Abraham. Now, I spoke to you earlier and I asked you, my tea is over here getting cold, but I said I will drink my tea after I give you my lecture. And I've got a clear sitting over here as well, but I'm not going to eat it yet. So, I make my lecture my priority. I make God my priority. Because, this information that needs to go out is very, very important. It can revolutionize and change your lives. And so, I want to bring the case of Abraham. I spoke earlier about commitment and interest. What is the difference, you might ask? Well, if you're interested, that means you're not going to get anywhere. We can just forget about it altogether. But if you're committed, then you're going to get somewhere. So now let me take it home to Abraham, our forefather, our ancestor. Abraham was given word by God that he has to leave his hometown, almost the same thing that I had to do. He had to leave his hometown. I had to basically follow in Abraham's footsteps. He had to leave his town, everybody he knew, everybody he loved, his businesses he had, the whole 9 yards he had to leave. But was Abraham interested or was he committed? Can anybody answer that? If you're all awake and not sleeping at 10 o'clock at quarter to 10 at Eastern time, Central time rather. So, okay, great. So Abraham wasn't just interested, he was committed. A lot of the people that we come across in our life today, you will find, you could be your friends, could be your family, you tell them something and they're interested, the ears perk a little bit, but they're not committed. When people are not committed, they can't go from A to B. You must be committed. And so Abraham is a fine example. Abraham was not just interested, well, he heard the voice of God and now his interest peaked. Now I'm going to be interested because I just heard the voice of God. And then he starts listening, but then it doesn't do anything. Well, what's the point of interest? None whatsoever. So you've got to be committed. So Abraham was committed. He was so committed that he said, whatever God says, I'm going to do. As we find in history, that's exactly what happened. Abraham was asked to leave his hometown. He left. He left his family. He came down to Israel. And then Abraham was then asked again, because we know there was 10 tests gave to Abraham. He passed all 10 tests. But one of the tests that was given to Abraham, was to take his son to the Mount Moriah, and he was asked to, give his son as an offering to God. And then when Abraham took his son, he was fully committed. He was ready to do anything God asked. And then God told him, no, I'm just testing you. I'm going to give you a ram. So God gave a ram instead that was caught in the thicket. And remember, ram that was caught in the thicket, it wasn't caught because it just so happened that, rams are climbing these mountains. No. These hills, these mountains, rams, you don't often find rams over there. What you might often find is a goat. But note over here that God didn't send a goat. He sent a ram. And that's a very rare occurrence. Could only happen if God did it. So God did that. He sent the ram to Abraham as a sign that this is what you're going to slaughter, not your son. So what we need to understand is Abraham was fully committed. He wasn't just interested, fully committed. So I asked you the question earlier, are you committed to God's voice? And you all say yes, yes, yes. But when the Kohen tells you something, you're like, no, your head is shaking the other side. So, you got to be committed means committed. Who are you committed to? Are you really committed? These are the questions that you have to ask. So don't shake your head left and right when the Kohen tells you to do something, but you must do it. Because your benefit, your future lies in it. It's not my future. I don't get nothing out of that. If you obey God's voice, your future lies in it. Your benefits, your blessings, your abundance lies in that, because we serve an abundant God. We serve a God of abundance. I don't serve a God of the poor. Where does God tell me to be poor, downhearted, dismayed, without hope, no. But also remember that we serve a God of, we serve an Almighty God, Al Shaddai, Almighty God. And we serve a God of abundance. And let me tell you something of interest. Do you know that when God sent the quails to the Israelites, to the children of Israel, our ancestors, He sent them the quails, and they were like whining and complaining, as it happens. They were all down and dismayed. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And God was a little bit upset with them. But then God said, "Okay, I'm going to send you quail. In spite of the fact that you've been moaning and complaining, I'm going to send you quail." So God sent a gust of wind, and He pushed these so many quails. And I think somebody calculated how many quails there were, per family. And if you note, it doesn't say that there was, 2 quails to a family or 3 quails to a family. They had an abundance. And somebody made a calculation, and I'm not sure of the exact figure, but I think they came to the figure of 105 million quails. My goodness, I thought, my goodness, what a number of quails. 105 or thereabouts millions of quails that God sent, that everybody could have an abundance of quails. Think about it. That's a huge number of quails, and it never happens historically, naturally, in the natural. You cannot get so many quails in one place. But what God did, He sent a wind, and the wind pushed the quails into the desert. And you had all these quails there. Amazing. We serve an amazing God. Don't ever doubt it that we serve an amazing God. Now, we know that Abraham was committed. Coming back to Abraham. Abraham was committed, fully committed with God at all eventualities. Abraham comes to town, he comes to Israel, and now Abraham is told by God that I'm going to give you offspring through your wife Sarah. Now, at this point, Abraham's commitment is no less than it was before. Now, what does God do? What does God do? God puts an image in Abraham's mind, in his head. He says, don't think that your wife is going to be barren, because his wife, she's getting people calling her names. Oh, she's a barren woman. She's a dry tree. She's never going to have children. All these negativities is being given to Abraham's wife. She's a very humble woman. She's getting all these negativities from people around her. What does she do? She doesn't speak. She doesn't turn around and criticize the people and says, yeah, yeah, I am barren, and yeah, I'm like this. No, she just stays quiet. You never hear Sarah ever complaining. Do you ever read about Sarah complaining about her barrenness? Do you ever read that she said to somebody, well, I'm barren, I can never have children? No, you never see it. So what does God do? He first puts an image into Abraham's mind. He says to Abraham, you're going to have another son. He's going to generate and Abraham, because as human beings, just as Abraham was just like you and me. He wasn't no special with wings around him. He was just like you and me. He was a man. And he also had doubts. Just like you and me have doubts, but he was very spiritual man. He was very humble man. He was a great, a giver. Some of us probably need to be, some of us need to reach up to Abraham's level. We need to be givers and we need to be great men. But Abraham was a great man, and he had doubts. And he asked God that, he probably didn't say it in the same words, but I'm paraphrasing. He said, I have doubts, God. How will I know this? How will I know that I'm going to have my son, Isaac, and the children that you tell me? And God says, look at the stars. Look at the stars. Can you count them? And Abraham's like, of course I can't count them. And God says, think of the stars. That's your descendants. You see the image that God placed in his mind? He placed the image of his son, and then he told him, count the stars. Every night, count the stars. That's your sons and daughters across the world. So what am I telling you today? You are also mini creators. This is not a heresy, by the way. This is the truth. You are mini creators. I explained to you earlier, if you don't place the image of a house in your mind, how are you going to get that house? If you don't write it down, how are you going to get that house? You don't write down, I want a 3-bedroom, you don't write down, I want a 3-bedroom house. It's going to have, 2 baths. It's going to have a driveway at the front. It's going to have a yard at the back. If you don't write this, how are you going to get that house? Pray tell. create the image, write it down, look for it in your mind daily, and then thank God for it in advance. That is your key to getting your house. I've given you a principle that if you apply, you'll never fail. So in order to receive, what did God do? God already did the principle. What did God do? He said, look at the stars. Your descendants are going to be like the stars. Well, I don't know how many stars there are in the sky. There's probably millions of them. I don't know in count. You know, maybe the people who watch the skies, they've done a count. I don't know if it's 600,000 stars out there or if it's millions. But I can tell you this much. Can we all agree that today Abraham's descendants are like the stars, uncounted? We all agree with that, right? But did God put that image in Abraham's mind or not? Did God put it or did I just make it up? Did God put that image in Abraham's mind and said, count the stars? And the answer is yes. He did put it. That's your principle. That is your principle to your success. When God tells you something, you need to be ready to receive it. Yeah, absolutely, Rabbi Kefa. Everyone in the world is claiming Abraham as their father. So I don't know, maybe all 6 billion people belong to Abraham. All 7 billion people that belong to Abraham. There is descendants. I just kind of a thought in the mind. So this is very important. But I want to take it a little bit further. And I want to show you something else. That I want to talk about the story of Hannah. Now, was Hannah interested or was she committed? You remember the story of Hannah. She was married to a Levite. She goes to the tabernacle, which was then our mobile temple, and she goes and she wants a child. Is she committed or is she interested? If she was interested, she'll be telling her neighbors, hey sister, I want to have a child. Hey darling, I want to have a child. Hey Mary, I want to have a child. No, she was committed. She didn't just stop in her street telling everybody, I want to have a child. She went to the house of the Lord. She went to the house of God and said, I want a child. And she started to pray. And Ali comes to her. And what does Ali say? It will be done to you. You will receive the child. So Ali's blessing was so powerful. Ali was a high priest at the time. He was so powerful that he was able to just say to her, yes, it's done. You're going to have your child. And the child is born. And who is the child? Can anybody tell me who's the child that was born? That she said, I'll commit to God? Samuel. Thank you. So Samuel the prophet was a child. What an amazing, amazing testimony. Every time I read that testimony, I'm amazed by that. That woman's faith, her faith was just phenomenal. We need to have phenomenal faith like Hannah. Our faith needs to be like Hannah. We should be committed fully. Like an exocet missile, fully committed. And never worry about anything else. Yeah, that was his second wife. So we need to be fully committed about something that we want. That means commitment is key. Remember the first thing I gave you, decision. First decide what you want. You said, I want a house. Okay, you made the decision. Now you're going to have the house. I had a person come to me. I had a friend come to me, a student in England, in London. He came to me. He said, Brother Simon. I said, yes, how can I help you? He said, I need your help. You're a man of God. What you say comes to pass. I need your help. I said, okay. What can I do for you? Just like our Master Yeshua said, Jesus said, what can I do for you? I said, what can I do for you? He said, I want a house. I said, it's done. Go, the house is done. It's yours. I didn't say to him, I'll sit in prayer and I will, light my candles and I will burn my incense and I will shake it before God. I said, no, it's done. And God had given me the authority and the provisions and the fact that I could set this before God and God would make it happen. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing because God told me right then to tell him that it's done. You can have the house. And he got his house. He got a beautiful 4-bedroom house in London. And I even told him, I said, it's not a 3-bedroom house. I said, don't think this is a game. This is not a 3-bedroom house. It's a tall house. It's more than 3 bedrooms. So that you will know that this is from God. And he got a 4-bedroom house. So, now everybody asks me, are you the Kohen? Are you not the Kohen? If I'm not the Kohen, well, How is these things happening? Am I just making them up? Making them up as I go along? No. Everything I do is from God. Everything. If I say it, it's from God and it will come to pass. Otherwise I don't say it. I just keep my mouth shut. If I don't want to say it, I just keep my mouth shut. Because I know when I say it, it will happen. So this is the difference of who is a Kohen, who is hearing the voice of God and who is not hearing the voice of God. Many people out there claiming to be this, that and the third. But what's happening in their lives? Nothing. Nothing. Their prophecies are failing. Their words that they give don't come to pass. Well, you know then what they are. Now let me take you to another example. Another example, we spoke about the example of Hannah. Now let's look at the example of Naomi. Was Naomi interested or was Naomi committed? Naomi comes to town completely broke. This was a rich woman, was married to a nice man, a good guy, and had sons. She loses her husband, loses her sons, comes back to town completely broke. Only has a piece of land. Now, is Naomi committed with her daughter-in-law? Her daughter-in-law Ruth, the church read her story, week in, week out they speak about Ruth and how the Ruth became part of God's family. And so Naomi was fully committed. Now I ask you the question, how many of you are committed and only not interested? Because I ordained, if Rabbi Kefa, if you remember, I must have ordained about 16, 17 rabbis at one time. Well, where are they all? Show me those rabbis now today. I think only out of those 16, 17 rabbis, we probably only have about 6, 7 rabbis left. Why? Because the other 10 were never committed. They were just interested. So this is how God uses people. Those of you that stayed are the committed people. And those of you that left, you were never committed. And you will never benefit in your lives. You will go away and you will just disappear and nothing will come of your lives. You missed the boat. Just like Noah got on the boat and he told the people around him, come, join me before you get drowned. Before you all perish. But they didn't listen. They said, oh, he's a stupid man, he's a nutcase, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's just a religious kook. And they left. And look what happened to them, they perished. So God had given a chance, and I told the rabbis in Texas, I said, this is a one-off, this will never happen again. This will never happen again. And I said, this is ordained by God. So God had called these people, and what happened to them? One went left, one went right, and they disappeared. Only few people stayed that were committed. So commitment is key. When you're coming to God, be committed for the rest of your life. Don't be committed for a season. No, don't tell me, oh, I'll commit for 2 years with you. No, you commit for life or you don't commit at all. It's all or nothing with me. When I commit to my friends, I don't say, well, I'll be your friend for 2 years. After that, forget it. I'm gone. I never say that. I'm committed for life. You have to be committed for life with God. There's no, if you're committed for life, you will never go wrong. But if you're committed for a season, you will never win, you will lose. So remember that. Everything that happens for a reason. If you've been called out and you've been put in a place, remember who called you. If I told you that you could be a rabbi, it wasn't because, oh, I just decided out of my whim and desire I'll make you a rabbi. No, it was from God. God made you a rabbi. Can everybody still hear me? Because I see a lot of people coming and going. I think they're losing connections. Okay, maybe it's a Texas issue. Must be a drone flying over. Everybody's losing connections over there. So, having said that, the next example I wanted to give you of the commitment, of course, as I was talking, was Naomi, of course. And when Naomi was committed, Naomi told her daughter-in-law, she said, you go to Boaz, and you must be committed, and this is what you must do. And if you do this, it will go well with you. And Ruth was fully committed to Naomi. Ruth wasn't just interested like the other sister-in-law who left. She was fully committed to Naomi. She said, okay, mother-in-law, I'm going to do this, Mom. I'm going to do exactly as you said. She goes and does exactly as Naomi asked her, and she becomes the wife of Boaz. And she produces the son through whom we're going to abundance, the prosperity that God's going to give you, don't allow them to do that. Because if you do, you've ruined your future. Your future is now in peril. So that's the decision. The decision you need to make today, because remember I spoke about decision. The decision you need to make today is, who do you want to be with? Do you want to be with people who stifle your future and destroy it? Or do you want to be with people who will lift you up and thrust you? And with that, I said it before and I'll say it again, because it's Beresheeth is the first Parsha, first Torah portion of the Holy Bible, is that remember what I told you. Every night when you go to bed, the first thing you must do is you remove all negativity of the day. Because you'll come across all sorts of negativities in the day. Remove them all. Second, forgive all the people that wronged you that day. It's very important for you to do that. Because you want your body to be in complete harmony when you go to bed. Thank the Master Yeshua, thank the Lord Jesus for your life and for the abundant blessings He has in future, in store for you. You must do that every night. You must do that when you go to bed. And then God will bring you great abundance and great things ahead. But I wanted to also say one more thing. And this is something that you're going to get shocked about. And this I held for last. We are never meant to be satisfied. Now, let me put it another way. Dissatisfaction is a state of creation by God. Now, you may turn around and say, hang on a minute, Rabbi, how can you say that? Because don't we have many scriptures that tell us that we can be satisfied? So you can point to me and you can say Psalm 107:9, for He satisfies a longing soul. Isaiah 58:11, and the Lord guide you continually and satisfy your desire. Jeremiah 31:25, Rabbi will satisfy the weary soul. You'll give me those scriptures and say, hang on a minute, Rabbi, but doesn't that say that God satisfies you? And I will turn around and say, no, your reading is wrong. We are supposed to be in a state of dissatisfaction, but comma, but happy. State of dissatisfaction, but happiness is for us to receive. Why is that? Because if Thomas Edison, who created the light, if he was not satisfied with the darkness, why did he create the light? Think about it. We will all still be living in caves, lighting, oil lamps, probably. So if everybody was satisfied all along that path, all along that, yellow brick road in the past, how come we have computers today? Planes, trains, cars, now the self-driving car. Why? Why? Because if we were all in a state of satisfaction, we don't need any of that. Think about it. We don't need it. So dissatisfaction, whether you believe it or not, is a state of being. But happiness, no, not happiness. Happiness is a state of being. Happiness you must have. Dissatisfaction doesn't mean that you're dissatisfied with your wife, you're dissatisfied with your husband. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that the environment around us, we are in that state for creation. In other words, we have to create our environment better for us. So we create better light bulbs. We create better source of energies. Absolutely, Rabbi Kefa. Dissatisfied promotes creation by humans. So God is put in us. It's a state of creation. I want you to take that away with you, what I just said. Take it away with you. It's a state of us being here. Because if you and me were satisfied, we will never think about the next invention. The only reason we invent is because of the state of dissatisfaction. God put it in us. Why do we reach out to space and now we're trying to get to Mars, and then after Mars we'll try to get somewhere else? Why? Because this is meant to be. But don't get it wrong. You're not supposed to be dissatisfied with your wife, with your husband, and not be happy. You're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be satisfied with the wife you've taken and be happy with her. That is a proper state. But when I speak about dissatisfaction, I'm talking about outside environment. The car you drive. Are you satisfied with that 20-year banger? I'm pretty sure that you're going to say no. Or would you rather have a new car? That's what I'm trying to establish in you, is that this is what I mean. So when we read those scriptures, that I gave you earlier, for he satisfies a longing soul. Well, it's not a continuous satisfaction. It's not a temporary satisfaction. It has to be continual. And what happens, God satisfies you. Okay, let me give you an example to give you more clarity on this. We, our children of Israel, our families, they were in the desert. They were dissatisfied, moaning, complaining, whining. Well, we don't have water. So God gives them water. Are they satisfied after the water? Only for a short bit. Then they start complaining again. So are they in a state of creation, of satisfaction? And you will find the answer, no, 50,000 times. Just reading the story of Exodus. 50,000 times you'll say, no, they're not in a state of satisfaction, because every time they're satisfied, the satisfaction lasts for a little bit. Then they start moaning and complaining. So then they start moaning and complaining about meat. So God gives them meat. Ample abundance of meat. Are they satisfied after that? Only for a short while. After the meat comes, then they're dissatisfied with something else. See, that is what I mean by dissatisfaction. So satisfaction, why did God create this state? And I'll tell you why God created this state. Because God wants us always to reach to Him. Seek Him always. That is why God created that state. Because what God wanted from us is that state of dissatisfaction, so that God can satisfy us continuously. So what happens? We get satisfied, then we get dissatisfied, we reach out to God. Then God satisfies us, then we get dissatisfied, then we reach out to God. Then God satisfies us, then we satisfy for a moment or two, for a few months, years, then we reach out to God. We're not so satisfied again. So this is meant to be a continuous reaching out to God. Why did the Messiah Jesus say that, come to me all who you are weary? What does weary mean? Does it mean that they are satisfied people or dissatisfied people? So if we are to go to Him, it is meant to be like that. So understand this, that this connection with humans and God is a permanent connection. It cannot be severed. If we sever it, we will live very dissatisfied lives. We'll never be fulfilled. So when God has established Himself and His people, the children of Israel, they are in the diaspora, God established a priesthood. Why did God establish a priesthood? If everybody could just do it for themselves. Now let's think for a minute. If everybody could just do it for themselves, never need God, never need the priesthood, why create the priesthood? Isn't that isn't that just wasteful and, ambitious? That God thinks, I'll create a priesthood, but people never need the priesthood. Well, why do you need the priesthood? You just come to me directly. No. The priesthood is there for a purpose. It is like the amplifiers. If I can describe the priesthood, we are the amplifiers of God. In other words, somebody comes to me and says, I need this. Can you please, ask God to give me this? Well, he could have asked himself as well, or they both could have asked themselves, but why come to me? Well, I'm the priesthood. What do? I go to God and I say, when I say amplify, I don't know what's the other word for completion, for commitment. I'm trying to think of the word in English language, and I'm thinking, what's the other word where I ask and it happens? I don't know the word for that. So what do? I go to God and I say, make it happen. I say to the Master in heaven, make it happen. And God makes it happen. That is the priesthood. The priesthood's purpose is we're the make it happen people. If I can think of any word, make it happen people. We are the make it happen people. When you come to me and you say, I need this, and I say to God that I have a covenant with you, Lord. I have a covenant with you, Master. I have a covenant. Yes, I remind him first. I have a covenant. I need this for such and such. This needs to happen, and God will make it happen. So we are the make happeners. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the only word I can think of. We are the happeners. We make it happen. Because God has made us like that. So no, we're not the intercessors. No, intercessor is the wrong word. Intercessor doesn't give you nothing. He just go between, just pray for you. No, I'm not an intercessor. I'm a make happen. I can make it happen. If you need something, I go before God and I said, Lord, make it happen. And God will make it happen. So that is the priesthood, by the way, if I can describe it in any definitive terms. So with that, I want to wish you a great Sabbath, but I want to also tell you, Torah Walker is saying, so does that mean that if he gave that state to us, does that mean he has that as well, since we are created in his image? Not meaning a negative, but a positive. There is more to look forward to his eyes when it comes to Israel. He is not satisfied as well when it comes to Israel, because he desires more for Israel and her meaning Israel. Well, technically no, because God is always in a state of satisfaction and completion. God is complete. We've got to understand. I was going to speak about the plurality of God, but I kind of decided not to bring that into the equation because I didn't want to confuse things. Maybe we'll speak about the plurality another time. What the Christians call Trinity is not Trinity, it's plurality. God has many spirits. God Himself tells you, apart from the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, He has 7 additional spirits. So again, that's another topic to speak about. But God is always in a state of completion. The question is this: on the world stage, like in humanity, like you and me, what do we need to mimic? We're never going to be like God, but what do we need to mimic or come close to that? Well, what's a Father, Son, and Holy Spirit mean, technically? Basically, that's a family, right? So we are a family on this earth. What's a family? Well, we have our spouse. There's a husband, spouse, and the children. That's a family. That is how God is as a family as well. God is a family. Angels are like His sons. So we are His sons and daughters here on this earth. So just as God is a family, we are a family. And the likes, it has to be similar to the heavens. So why are we a family? Now the next question, why are we a family? And maybe we'll answer that another time. So I think I'm going to leave it here. I'm kind of excited about this because this is great. Baruch Hashem, Master Yeshua. I had this lady write to me. She was so excited. She wrote to me, and Rabbi Kefa saw that email as well. She was saying, I'm trying to find the Abrahamic faith, Netzarim, Hebraic study scriptures. I can't find it. Could you please help me? I've been looking and looking and looking, and I can't find it. And eventually, I found it in Kindle version, but I don't want it in Kindle version. I want it in paperback or hardback. So I said to her, I said, lady, this Bible is now called Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls. It's no longer called the old name. So here is a link. You can go onto Amazon, or you can buy a hardback copy from Lulu, but it's not complete on Lulu. Lulu, they do 2 separate hardbacks. But I said you can get one, complete Bible paperback from Amazon. She was so excited, she went to Amazon, she ordered it, she came back to me and told me, she said, I'm so excited, you don't know, I'm so excited about getting this Bible. I'm so excited, I'm looking forward to it. I've ordered it on urgent, fast, a $100 order. So I was like, great for you. I said, this is going to change your life. This is going to change how you think, how you see, how you perceive the world. So really, if I can give you something, if you don't have the Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls, I never tell you to go buy them, but I will tell you today that if you want to change your life, that is a Bible that you must have. You can have your other Bibles too, but that Bible you must have, because it will totally change your life, your paradigm, your future, everything, how you think, it will change it. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Rabbi Kefa. Have a great Shabbat, Todah, and Shabbat Shalom.
Todah HaKohen for another marvelous lecture. I give thanks to the God of Israel for you always, because without you, my goodness, where is Israel today? But still wondering. So, Baruch Hashem, Master Yeshua, Master Jesus of Nazareth, for the opportunity. If I can be heard, can I get a 1? I want to make sure I'm coming in crystal clear before we begin to get into the lecture. Well, I welcome all you newcomers. Anyone that's new, you're welcome. Welcome to the room. Welcome to this room of just Torah, where Torah is king. Yael, woman of the tent. This lecture has been part and partial and parsed up and tossed up like a salad. Aren't the evening and the morning both part of the daylight hours? No, evening and the morning. No, it's the day and the night is what you're probably trying to say. Day and night. maybe I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, but the day and the night were separated. And as you see in the beginning, as we all need to get back to the beginnings to move forward, we must start at, there must be a starting point, not starting in the middle, but starting back at the beginning. But I have come to understand that for some, which they may consider it, the middle, because they look at the master. I was thinking about the sacrificial times. Okay, sacrificial times are only relevant to who? To the Kohanim. So sacrificial times there were sacrifices. All the sacrifices that were done in the temple were done during the daylight time. Daylight, the sun, meaning the sun was up. The sun was up. Besides the continuous offering that burned continually, the daylight hours was when all of the sacrifices took place. It was always during daytime. Nothing happened at night. The priesthood were not, running around trying to do sacrifices in the dark. That wouldn't make any sense when you look at it on a common sense level as well. So I think that's important to understand. But that's more relevant to temple times, which we don't have a standing temple today. According to telling you the night is not counted, because nothing went on at night, as was taught here many times before. As far as when it comes to, these are two separated times. And I think as we look back and we examine the beginnings, I think that's very relevant and very, very, very important to understand. Is this point, is that you have what we call relationships, and then you have what we call separation, and they both are part and parcel, hand in hand. That's not what I meant, but I think I understand. Okay, maybe you send us an email. Send an email to the Kohen. He can really give you some clarity and maybe try to understand what you're understanding, because that's important. You see, I want to understand what you're trying to understand so that I can help you understand. Does that make sense? That's what I got in Hakohi's lecture. You got to understand where the person is coming from. And until you walk one day in somebody's shoes, and until you walk the one day in somebody's shoes, you don't know how people understand. You have no clue. You see? Yeah. You said that the day and the night was joined. Okay, the day and the night, the day and the night are not joined. It's it's separate. They're separate things, you see. So the day is the day, meaning daylight hours, and the night is the night, period. You see? Day is light, night is night. Night is darkness. And those two times were separated, you see. Remember what the Rabbi Yeshua, Master Jesus of Nazareth, said. Remember what he said? He said, aren't there 12 hours in a day? Think about that. Aren't there 12 hours in a day? You see? Forget this 24-hour period thing, you see. Aren't there 12 hours in a day? That's important to understand. See, because the Shabbat is a day, right? Remember, the Shabbat is a day, the Shabbat day. And the Master Yeshua, he cleared it all up for us. Many people miss it, but I don't. And I don't think luxury class misses it either. Aren't there 12 hours in a day? That's what we need to really be looking at. When it's important that we understand that. And this teaching has been parsed and it's been tossed up like American salad by the Kohen many times. And some of you still have an issue with that. You may want to go back and revisit the teachings, or you may want to ask questions. Yael, woman of the tent, that's a pertinent question. That's a big hiccup in the way of a lot of folks as we go back to the beginnings. Is they're still hung up and they're hoodwinked and they're bamboozled by our history that's been tainted, that's been skewed to meet a particular agenda, to do all these extras that the God of Israel, that is not warranted by the God of Israel, the Master Yeshua. It is not warranted to do all of these things. So Shabbat starts at 6 a.m. Well, it depends on what part of the world you're in. Remember, the Kohen done a lecture on this as well. Yeah, it may be Shabbat on one side of the world and Shabbat may be over on the other side of the world. We even see this with the, here in this room. Sometimes when the lecture is finished on this end, the new day has already started. I mean, you're talking about Shabbat's over with already, and they're already, out there trying to do their shopping or, go out into an eatery or do something because Shabbat is done for them. So, I think that's important to understand that it's very, very important to understand as we want to go back to the beginnings. We want to go back and do things right, in the sight of God, not in the sight of man. And it's unfortunate that under the umbrella of the Torah, there are many facets to it. Like Hakohen gave the plane, there are many facets to it. Some people, they just drag, while other people are given the thrust. And when you're with the Kohen, you're going to get the thrust that you need to propel you forward, to make you fly. I don't mean that literally, but some of you may have the ability to fly. I don't know. I know our ancestors did. So I think it's important for us to understand it, to give you the ability to take flight and to move on. As we say take flight today, that means move on with your lives and fly. There is no limit. There is no limit for you, Hebrews in the room. You descendants of Hebrews, you children of Israel. There are no limitations put on the God of Israel. As you heard from the Kohen, is that, the God of Israel, He's perfect. He's complete. He's whole. Yeah, we are offshoots of that. Now, I'll tell you what, me and Kohen don't sit together and have, discussions over lectures and what we're going to talk about, this, that, the other, and the third. But I think it's very, very important. I wrote this down, Rabbi Kefa. I wrote this down from the Imhokma. She told me this. Creatures of creating. We are creatures of creating. This came to me, and I mean, I wasn't, I don't have a peeking in on the Kohen, the son of Aaron's lectures. I don't do that, but I'm on the same wavelength as my teacher, as my Nasi, as my leader, and I think that's important to understand that. We have all these technologies, afforded to us, but one of the greatest technologies, as I was explaining to my daughters, is the mind. The mind, the capacity and the capability of our minds. And you can say it's a spiritual thing, but I think it's very, very important that we do understand that there's a connectivity amongst the children of Israel. And I firmly believe this, that we can, you may call it, telepathy or whatever you may call it. I have this with my wife as well, especially when she was in China, is that our minds could, we could be thinking the same thing at the same time and text the same thing and be on that same wavelength. I don't know if I'm the only one that experiences this, but if you have been in a distant relationship for a long period of time, and maybe Hakohen has done this with his wife as well because of the long distance factor. Sometimes when you're in that long distance relationship, it actually brings the relationship closer because you're able to communicate on a level that's far better than a smartphone. You see, because you mentally, your minds are like they come together. I mean, that's serious business. So when the Torah tells us that the two become, you leave your mother and father and you cleave, and the man and the woman, they become achad flesh, that's real. That's real, Ms. Bahar. Now, I don't know how many of you besides Rabbi Kefa has experienced this, but I'm telling you, when you can connect on that level, then you'll really begin to understand. And Torah really becomes real to you because you see it, exemplified in that kind of way to where, maybe it's not with your spouse or significant other, but maybe it's someone else that you're close to as well, to where you have even said wording like this. Like maybe you said like, oh, wow, I was just thinking of that same thing. You just said that, and I was just thinking that same thought as you just told me. I was just thinking that. So don't excuse these things as just some kind of mishap or just some kind of fly-by-night type of thing. That just see these as miracles or see these as great inner workings of ourselves as many creators. And I firmly believe if we call the Abba like we do, we say we're in the family, doesn't normally a father pick up the characteristics of the son will pick up the characteristics of the father? Am I correct? I hear it all the time. Oh, you look just like your daddy. Even in looks. But even more importantly, it goes deeper than that. Oh, you act just like your daddy. When your daddy was small, he did that same thing. You have the same mannerisms of your mama. Yeah, Ruby Bonilla, see me and him on the same wavelength. Before even texting in, I'm saying the same thing. The same mannerisms of your mama. You act just like your mama. And that can be a good thing. It's not all negative, as I hear it sometimes in the grocery store. You need to quit acting like your daddy. You just like your daddy. So, well, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. The fruit don't fall too far from the tree, right? So I think that's important to understand is that, oh my goodness, when you begin to really understand that Torah is literally life. And you know how Kohen, he made a point, son of Aaron made a point in his lecture that I think I need to make as well. And I'll elaborate on. Yeah, we're all waiting for the Garden of Eden. We're all waiting to be restored. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, what are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be living. You see that? Everybody's waiting on the by and by, but I'm looking at the now and now. What do I need to do now? I can't wait on what's going to happen when we get back to Israel. But a lot of the mindset is on, oh, let's just dream about how it's going to be when we get back in the land. Oh, let's just think about how much property I'm going to have when I get back in the land. Well, let that take care of itself. You need to be worried about life and living right now. The now and now, not when, okay, yeah, that's, the Garden of Eden and the land flowing with milk and honey. That's marvelous. That awaits us, Mishpachah. But what are we doing today, 2018, October the 6th? You see, we need to live, and we need to learn how to live. I think that's important. Not many folks want to stick around and learn how to live. And not many folks want to be committed to the fact, as Hakohen talked about, the son of Aaron in his lecture, want to be committed to living, to life itself. Many folks are giving up on life. And I don't mean they're running around here thinking about contemplating suicide, but they're actually giving up on life. It's because they're not trying to live it. They're not trying to live it. Luxury class said, I just want to get into the land, but I guess by being a profitable servant. Well, if you want to see the land, I mean, anybody, you want to talk about the land, you see the land as your inheritance, as the children of Israel, convert, revert, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. That's for later on. You see, land promise, that's etched in stone. That's covenant, baby. Covenant cannot be broken. That's covenant. But what we need to concern ourselves with is how to begin to live that life, and Tada, son of Aaron, for telling us that we're not perfect, we're not going to be perfect, and we're going to have our faults. It's because a lot of folks are hung up on being perfect, and they're bamboozled and hoodwinked, and this is a big stumbling block in their way because they think they have to be perfect before God. Only thing you have to do before the God of Israel is live your life. Before the Creator to breathe into your nostrils is live your life. Live a right life as best as you can live it. And don't concern yourself with being perfect. The best thing that all of you have ever done, listening via YouTube and listening live in this room, is this. Is you have attached yourself to a son of Aaron. That's the best thing you've done. That's step number one. Now, once you attach yourself to the son of Aaron, now you must make that commitment to go all in, put your chips all in, if I can use a Vegas term, throw all your chips in. Through the good times and the bad, when you don't understand and you do understand, when everything doesn't seem clear to you, but when everything is just clarity, it's night and day, you see. So I think it's important that we do understand that. Is that we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to get it all right. But that's okay. Because we have the get out of jail, get out of sin card. We have the card. And so it makes us look to the God of Israel. Is that we have to look to Him. We have to look to the Father when we're in trouble. We have to look to the Father when things are good. We must look to Him. And it's all built into the Torah. This government of the kingdom of the Most Highest is built into it. To where you can't go and get off on a wild tangent and go off and want to do your own thing because you think that's right. But you always have to come back to the gold standard, which is the laws of Moses. You have to come back to that beginning point. You see, now you're at the beginning. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Where do you begin? In the beginning. But here's the question. Beginning when? When are you going to begin? Beginning when? It's in the beginning, we know that, but, beginning when? When are you going to start being committed? Like the Kohen, the son of Aaron, was talking about. When are you going to start doing that? See, that's on you. I can't answer that question. That's a hefty question, Mishpahah. But in all seriousness, that's where we need to be in this day and age. Because all of you are a crucial part of the family. Every one of you in this room. You're a crucial part of the family. You must understand that. You're not some mediocre, this, that, the other, and the third. Don't let the Jedi mind tricks play tricks on you. You're a crucial, you're a pivotal part of the family of the God of Israel. You're of the family of Jacob. See yourself that way. The son of Aaron talked about how other people drag us down. Friends, family members. But I'll submit to you this. That the majority of our problem is not other people, but it's actually ourselves dragging us down. How many of you know what I'm talking about? It's yourself putting yourself. You're your worst enemy at times. Where you put your own self. You put limitations on yourself. Rabbi Benia calls him the man in the mirror. That's just what it is. What a great song by Michael Jackson. Got to look at that man in the mirror. Can't be looking outside all these other men. Oh, this man, because, the man put me down. The man, he put me into slavery. The man. No, how about you look at the man in the mirror and realize that this is where the problem starts. The buck stops right at that man that you're looking at in the mirror. But we're quick to point the finger at everybody else. Why everybody else is apprehension into your creationism, creating, your ability to create. And believe it or not, Mishpahah, me and the Kohen, son of Aaron, we don't sit there and talk about lectures. Sometimes, every now and then we mention, well, I'm going to talk about this on Shabbat, and we'll leave it at that. But we don't sit there part and parcel looking at each other like, no, we have a lot of other things we like to discuss and talk about. But what you need to understand, as you look at Beresheeth, as you look at the beginnings, can you tell me, let's talk about what the Father is doing here. When we look at Beresheeth, chapter 1 all the way to chapter 6, what's going on here? Simha saying, what is the point? Is the Mishkan there were the candelabra, the 7 lamps of the holy tent, they was lit up by the high priest just at daybreak and during sunrise. And yes, it stayed lit all the time in the tent and later in the temple too. No sacrifices were done in the night by the priest. Oh no, none were done. None were done at all at night. None were done. So we have to correlate these things somehow sometimes to make folks really understand and get an understanding. At the same time, trying to understand where the folks are at is very important. The person asking the question, you must look at it from their point of view to really help them understand. You must understand them first. And I think in today's time, we don't afford them the ability to understand them. See, this is why all of you need to become students of nature. What is a student of nature? Someone who studies another person. You must be able to understand people. Understand them. Hear people so you can understand them. And I tell you, you'll get a better audience when you begin to just sit down and listen to folks. Because a lot of folks just want to talk. A lot of folks, they call it venting. They say, oh, I need to vent. And they'll come to you and they just want to vent. So you need to be the receptacle of venting people so that you can allow them to vent and begin to understand where they're at. But too many times we want to be judgmental. I don't know, for you early birds that came in the room, did you see that person that came in the room and he said, what did he put up a text? He said, no using computers on the Sabbath. I mean, my goodness, what was that? You see, he didn't come in the room to try to understand. He came in with an agenda. He just came in being what? Judgmental. Oh, you can't use a computer on the Shabbat. But at the same time, over who? This man is keyboard warrior, texting all these things that you can't do on the Shabbat. Is he not on the computer? Wow, is that not the pot calling the kettle black? But let's not be quick to judge, because I'm not going to sit here and judge this man that's just trying to run me under the bus because I'm on the internet on the Shabbat. But at the same time, I understand where this man is at. I understand where he's at. I understand. So I don't run him under the bus. I just save him from himself, and I ban him from this room so he can, I must leave him to his own understandings. You see? And this is what you must do. We must try to understand people at the human level, at the very nature of folks. We must do that. And sometimes don't give a response, but just be there just to listen and say, oh, I see your point of view, you see. Simha saying, to clarify, why worship in the daytime is 12 hours a day. Oh, I see what you're talking about. So I think that's important to understand. You see, I think that the point there, Simha, we're talking about is during the daytime, where the day and night were separate entities in themselves. And that's very important to understand. They're separate entities. Day and night are not together. They're separated. The creator of the heavens and the universe is separated these times, which I find just absolutely amazing. Many people just don't have an understanding of that. As all of you know, you may have some friends, family members, and loved ones that they just don't understand that just yet. If they don't have the revelation, you leave them to it. But you don't run them under the bus, you don't condemn them, and you definitely don't try to judge them, you see. You definitely don't try to do that, because they just don't understand. You must be patient with them to understand their point of view. Be patient. Be patient with them to maybe one day that they will get understanding and revelation in this area. And if not, so be it. But that's not my remit to run around here worried about, trying to, make sure everybody understands the way I understand. Because what good is that at the end of the day? Not everybody's going to understand and agree with the way you agree. But you know what I say? At the end of the day, are you happy? That's what I say. If your understanding makes you happy, Baruch Hashem, be happy. But we need more happy folks in this world. But because you angry, everybody else around you has to be angry. Because, it's just like the relative that Hakoin talked about that he had. They want to rile up these emotions and get you riled up just the way they riled up and angry. But I don't want to be a part of that. In my life, let me tell you, in my 48 years on this earth, I have had a lot of time to myself, and it's been beautiful. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. It has made me such a better man. Because I've had a lot of time to myself. Not with my family and not with my I've just been to myself, me and my dog. We've had a lot of time together. And I love that. I love that. I never thought I would say this, but I love that. Because during that times that I never understood, I always thought you had to have people around you to be happy. That's not the case. You can be by yourself and be very happy. What a great revelation it was for me that I experienced, that I had to go through, you see. HaKohen is saying, unfortunately, too many lies out there confusing people about what day is. Oh, indeed, HaKohen. And this is why the hidden truth we break scrolls are more valuable than all of the material wealth of the world. It's because they help you understand how to live life, how to have life. You see? Because if you remember, what was in the garden, as we go back and we examine, you know, what is the Father doing here? Let's talk about what the Father is doing when we look at Beresheeth 1 all the way to Beresheeth chapter 6. Can anybody give me some examples of what the Father's doing? Okay, yeah, the Father's creating. Yes, the Father is creating. And I will submit to you this day, just like with the son of Aaron's lecture, is that we're many creators as well. Can anybody else tell me what the Father's doing here in Beresheeth in the beginnings? Tada. Can anybody? Master Jesus of Nazareth. What else is the Father doing? What else is Elohim doing at this time? He's establishing a pattern here on this earth. But what kind of pattern? That's a good point you made, Yael, woman of the 10. What kind of pattern? Reba Benin says the Father, what is he doing? It's about families. Oh, absolutely. Yael, woman of the 10, you hit on a word that kind of raised some of the hairs on my head. You say he's establishing a pattern. What kind of pattern is he establishing, the Father? He's establishing a pattern of what? Separation. Think about it. He's separating this from that. He's separating this from that. He's doing this on this day. You're starting to see in the kingdom of the Most High is that in the Father's house that there's order. Things were done on this day. Things were separated on this day. He took this, separated this from this. Come on, let's look at these things. Because we need to be mini-me's of this. Not that we need to be like the Father, but we need to have characteristics of the Father to be known of Him. Characteristics of and my goodness, I kept thinking about this. What gives light on this earth? Think about it. How do we get light on this earth? Can anybody tell me? What lights up as we talk about today? What do we use to show us that is day? What is the physical representation of day? Can anybody tell me? That we use here on this earth. What is that? Boy, I get so excited about this stuff. Because this stuff is so... the sun, right? I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, wow. The sun. Pay attention to that. Where the Father gives us light through what? The sun. And I'm talking to HaKohen because he was... You know, we were trying to order books and get more books. Books are being sent my way for the prison ministry and for those of not only books. We talk about Torah tools here. We're talking about life-changing, life-saving, that'll just make your life to its fullest, the way you can live just a full life. You know. And so we have the hidden truth we break scrolls, and you know we're talking about is that you know. Majority of folks are going to find Torah not through Moses, but how are they going to find the Torah? This was revelation to me. Mohammed told me this. They're going to find the Torah through the Master, through Jesus. This is how they're going to get to Moses, through Jesus. Not by the Father are they going to get to Moses, but they're going to get to Moses they're going to get to the laws of Moses by who? By the Son. By that light that we talk about. The Master says, what did he say? He said, I'm the light of the world. The Son, not the Father. And this is how many are going to come into the revelation of the Torah of Moses. It's going to be through Jesus. Do you see it? Through Jesus of Nazareth. Through the Master Yeshua. And this is why all of you need to be very patient with those that may not have the revelation as of yet. Of Moses. They don't have the revelation of Moses. They were never taught about Moses. But they were taught about Yeshua. They were taught about Jesus of Nazareth. Think about this for a minute now. Because I want you to understand this ground-shaking revelation. Is that you're trying to get your family member, friends, and loved ones to understand Moses through Moses. That's not going to work. Moses is foreign to a lot of people. Anybody in agreement with me in this room? Is that Moses is foreign to a lot of people. Moses is foreign. They don't know nothing about no Moses. But they know about a Jesus. They know about a Jesus now. You see, they're going to get to the Father through who? The Son. And the Master Yeshua said it himself. He said, no man goes to the Father but through the Son. Didn't he say that? My goodness. This is, I tell you, this is earth-shaking stuff here. And it needs to be. Because all of you need to understand. You're trying to hit people with the revelation of Moses. They don't know about no Moses. And all respect to my great Nasi, the greatest rabbi ever. The greatest prophet, the greatest king, and the greatest priest that ever lived. But people don't know that. They don't have that revelation. So what are we doing? We're giving folks the NT. Because we give them the Torah and they still don't understand Torah through Moses. But they understand they're going to come to the Torah through Yeshua, through Jesus of Nazareth. Boy, understanding is so important. So we can't shove Torah down people's throat because to them it's just, because you know what response we get? I'm going to tell you. Here's the correspondence that we get. They say, oh, Rabbi, Tada, thank you for sending me the Torah, but I still need other books to help me understand. And they were right. And here we are giving them the Torah. Torah's king. Yes, Torah is king. But they don't see the king through the Torah. They see the King of Kings through Yeshua, through Jesus of Nazareth. They see him as the king. Right? So we have to, this is how we have to learn to come through them, you see. Because they're going to see Torah of Moses through Yeshua, through Jesus of Nazareth. As they say. What would Jesus do? They say it, they put these little things on their arm, they wear the t-shirt. This is how they're going to come into the revelation of the Torah of Moshe, the Torah of Moses. And indeed, what a beautiful thing to behold. Because you put Torah in their face and they can't comprehend it, they can't understand it. Even though it's in black and white, they just cannot understand it. But then you give it to them through the Master Jesus of Nazareth, and then, slowly but surely, the lights start to come on. What a beautiful thing. So all of you, as the light bearers in the nations that you're in, you all must be patient. Because let's do a survey. How many of you in this room right now have family members, friends, and loved ones that are of the Christian faith or of the Catholic faith? How many of you? I just need to know. You see? So this is why it's so important to you as the light bearers to the world, is that you be patient with them. Don't run them under the bus because they don't understand Moses. They're not going to understand a Moses. They're just not going to do it, Mishpah. But they understand Jesus. They understand Jesus of Nazareth. They know Jesus of Nazareth. They were conditioned and brought up with Jesus of Nazareth. You see? So this is how you're going to have to come to him. And Baruch Hashem to the Im Chochmah, the Ruach HaKadosh, with this revelation. And we get letter after letter, correspondence after correspondence. Rabbi, Tada for the Torah, but I need more for my study. I don't understand. I'm thinking, I'm scratching my head. My goodness, the Torah is the all in all. But they don't have that revelation yet. So we have to facilitate them with the tool, with the sun. Baruch Hashem, the sun that gives light. And indeed, it was that same sun that came to the Kohen in an investment bank, Japanese investment bank. It was the sun. It wasn't Moses. And all respect to Moses. Because let's face it, it was the sun that gave Moses the instruction to write what he needed to write in the Torah, right? It was the sun that did that as well. As he described himself as being there in the beginning. He was there in the beginning. He is the Aleph and the Tav, you see. Your Messiah says, let's talk about the 10 basic laws. There are no 10 basic laws, your Messiah. That's a bunch of mumbo-jumbo that you have gotten from, those of the unlearned. Those that have no understanding of our books. There's no such thing as some 10 basic laws, you see. But they want to tell you that because it fits their particular, agenda. No, there's no 10 basic nothing. You see? So Simha saying, if many don't know about history today, how can they know about, about BC history several thousands of years ago? Oh, indeed, Simha. If history is twisted and tainted today, you're absolutely right. Your Messiah says, okay, 613. Guess what, your Messiah? That's wrong as well. Again, who gave you that? Who gave you that? What is it, Moses that gave you the 613 laws? You see? So again, and see, this is what you're being spoon-fed and what they call Judaism. Judaism will tell you a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. A bunch of mumbo-jumbo. Give you all of these things out here, like Hakoy is saying. They give you all this dogma, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and you do this. And you jump up and down. You see? The sun. Let's look at the sun. And we must do that. We look at the sun to give us our day. Oh my goodness, what a revelation. We look at the sun to give us our day. But at the same time, we look to the sun for everything else. We look to the sun to get to the Father. And we're going to get to him through the sun. But we need to have these same attributes. These same, maybe not on the level as the Father, but we're mini-me's of the Father and we're mini-me's of the Son. Because the sun brings forth light. And the Master said we're to be a light to the world. Not that we're to be the sun. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, and I don't proclaim to be the sun. But I proclaim to be a light, an offshoot, or just the fragments of the sun to give light to wherever I go. I just want to make people happy. And I would encourage you all, if you don't have a joke book in your house, go out and buy a joke book and tell jokes, make people laugh. People need to be happy. And if you notice, in these Gentile lands, now folks at this time on their calendar, they start to get happy. They start to get happy because, they get in there what they call a holiday mode, and everybody happy, and they become very giving and happy. But my thing is, how come you can't be like that throughout the whole year? Why does it have to be just at a certain time? How come you cannot take that, put it in a bottle, and carry that with you throughout the year when you're going through those ups and downs in life? That's called living in life, by the way. When you have to go out and you have to work for your bread and your meat, and because we're told that in this parsha as well. That man, you're gonna have to go out and you're gonna have to work. You have to sweat to put the meat and bread on the table. There's gonna be obstacles in your way. It's gonna be hard. But at the same time, that's what makes you and gives you such a great character that you have within you today. These hard times. These hard times are what make you healthy. These hard times are what make you happy. Think about it for a minute. If we was always in a state of bliss, what kind of world would this be? It's those difficult moments, those difficult hard times. I tell you, I love the Forex. I love doing that. But there's been some difficult times, some hard times. I'm blowing up accounts over here, left and right. But it's in these times that I learn and I grow and I become healthy and I become stronger and I learn and I gain experience. I tell you, same way, whatever profession that you're in, you're going to have those moments where you make mistakes, you do things wrong. So be it. You learn from them and then you keep what? Moving on. You don't say, oh no, okay, well, I made a mistake there, then I'm just closing shop. I'm closing up shop. I'm not going to do anything anymore. I'm giving up now. Oh, that's God telling me that I need to go in another direction. No. You're gaining experience so you can become better at this profession that you love to do. That makes you happy. You see? I think that's important. I think that's important. Simha saying, ask the Creator to use the body He loaned you to show the world about the Creator. Oh, is that not summed up in a nutshell? Because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, why were we even created? Think about it. Why were you created? As we see creationism brought out from the way we understand it in our books. Because let's face it, not everybody agrees creationism happened the way we see it in our books. But do we run them under the bus because they believe in the Big Bang Theory? Or believe that they come from the evolution of a monkey? I don't run these people under the bus. I try to understand them. That's what I try to do. Oh, okay, so you understand it that way. You see? But the reason why, at the end of the day, when we were created was to do what? Was to give esteem, was to give all praise to the Creator. This is why I firmly believe that what the son of Aaron was saying in his lecture is so very true. We're going to always be dissatisfied people so that we can turn to the satisfier. Think about it. We're going to always be dissatisfied people so that we can turn to the satisfier to be satisfied. And then when we get satisfied, then we'll get dissatisfied again. It's built into human nature. And this is where you all become mini-me satisfiers. As folks come to you, you are. Let me give you an example of how you are. You are because have you ever had a person come up to you and say, I like coming up to you because I feel like I can talk to you. Any of you ever had a person come up to you and say, or they just come up to you and they start venting to you? They'll say, hey, because, I like coming to you because you listen to my problems. Or I can come to you, I like coming to you because I can talk to you. You see, you're mini-me satisfiers. Think about it. I like coming to you because you listen to me. You're a good listener. I had this man this week, Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth. He came to me this week and he said, hey man, I like coming to you. And look, this man, he was offered a position, a foreman position, a raise. They were going to make him a foreman. But it was only foreman in word, but not in deed. So he was only being called foreman by name, but not with the money to back the foreman. So he said, wait a minute. He told his boss, he said, wait, I need to go talk to my wife before I can make a decision on taking this new position that you want to give me. But do you know, he came home and he said, no, I wanted to come talk to you because you have a lot of wisdom. He said that. I said, Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth. He said, because you have a lot of wisdom, I wanted to talk to you first. I was like, well, Baruch Hashem. You see, this man was dissatisfied. But What did he come to get satisfied? He didn't go to God. He came to me. Just like these people, they come to you because they're dissatisfied, and you can satisfy them. Just sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You just sit there and listen to them. Maybe you'll give them a gold nugget here and there when they finish, and try to direct them and guide them once you begin to understand where they're at. But many a time, these so-called, Torah followers, blah, 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 you're so judgmental, you don't give the person the opportunity to say anything, or to speak, or to, give his point of view. Before you already done, you judge and jury on them. You don't need to be judge and jury. No JJ's here. I'm not talking about the good times, because I like good times. But no JJ here. You don't need to be judge and jury. You need to give individuals the opportunity to speak and be good listeners. What does the Torah tell us to do? Hear, O Israel. Torah don't tell us to speak. Listen to the Torah. Let's learn from our books. Torah tells us to hear. So what's another great attribute that we need to have? We need to be great hearers, great listeners. We need to be listening in. We need to be tuned in. Antennas need to be up for listeners. We need to be able to listen to people so we can understand them. You see, this is why I said at the beginning of my lecture, we don't need to be worried about, let's let the land take care of the land. That's going to take care of itself. We don't need to worry ourselves with that now. We need to worry about living in these lands that we're in. The Master Yeshua said we need to be light to these nations. Why do you think we dispersed in these great nations? I tell you, I was watching some great documentaries this week about this great world that we live in. And I tell you, aren't you not grateful that the Most Highest in all of His awesomeness did not disperse us into some of these countries? I was watching some of these countries on TV, like these underdeveloped. You see these countries, and I thought for a minute. I said, do you know that could be me in these countries, these underdeveloped countries that they're scrounging for water, much less food. That could be me in these You ever thought that way? I was like, Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth. That He dispersed me in America. I said, man, what a great God we serve. Because I could be in some of these underdeveloped countries. Some of you have been to some of these countries. And you're like, man, I don't see how they making a living. They can't even make $1 out of 15 cents. Much less have the 15 cents. And I'm like, Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth. You see, because guess what? That could have been you or I dispersing these underdeveloped nations all over the world. Think about that for a minute. And I give thanks and I give glory to God that He dispersed me and He scattered me in the United States of America. As much as many folks want to sit there and run America under the bus, America's a great country. My goodness. And you see a lot of these people in this country and on these documentaries, they explain it just like this. These people are hand-to-mouth people. Every day they work for hand to the mouth. And all of you can open up your refrigerators right now and they're chock-a-block full of food. You got food in the freezer. You got surplus of food. And every day I see in these documentaries, hand-to-mouth. People just working just to get hand to the mouth. Get the money put in their hand and then the money is put in their mouth because they got to go buy something to eat. My goodness. We should be giving thanks and be gracious for that alone. For you listening via YouTube as well. Is that we're dispersed in these great nations to do great things. And I tell you what, I was having a discussion with my daughter last night. Awesome discussion. And it was on the lines of being dissatisfied. And on the same lines of being satisfied. Because think about this for a minute. I tell you, it really kind of opened her eyes. Think about this for a minute. In today's society, with all this technology, all these great advances, do you know what they're trying to do? They're literally trying to satisfy you. Think about it. They're trying to get you to a point to where you're satisfied. And if you can't get satisfied on your own, you know what they're doing? Then they're going to create and build robots for you to help you be satisfied. Think about this for a minute. All these great advances are to help you do what? Are to help you be satisfied. Not that I'm knocking these great advances, because technology is great, it's brilliant. But what I'm saying is that we must be very careful. Because when we look back at ancient times, we did not have all of these tools or these great advances in technologies. But at the same time, why was in ancient times, it seems like they were more technologically sound and more advanced than we are in today's time. They didn't have all of these distractions that we have today. And we do have a lot of distractions, by the way. Think about that for a minute. I was explaining to my daughter that, today we are using lesser of our brains than our ancestors did. Think about that for a minute. Now, if you know in our Hebrew history that at one time we had the ability to be able to fly, that we had the ability to be able to communicate with our brains, that we could communicate from one, we didn't need no email. Think about this now. We had these kind of abilities. So my question is, what happened in between the now and the then? Mishpahah, at one time, animals used to be able to talk. What happened to what now animals can't talk today? What happened? Do you ever think about these things? Now, I'm not knocking technology, Mishpahah, but I'm just saying we cannot get too complacent and become too satisfied with technology to where we forget to use our brain. Do you see where I'm going now? Do you understand where I'm going? We cannot become too, you see, because then you get satisfied. And you're not dissatisfied because, you're satisfied. I on my phone, I could program stuff on my phone to where my AC cuts on at this time. I get home, the lights are cut on at this time. You're satisfied with that. You're not dissatisfied. You're very happy. You're satisfied. But I just want you children of Israel to understand. And I'm not, you say, well, Rabbi Kefa, he telling me to throw my iPhone 8 in the trash. No, I'm not saying that, because I have the iPhone 8 Plus and I'm quite happy with it. But what I am saying is that let's not let all of these great advances prevent us from using this great mind that we have. I think we've been mined down instead of mining up. Our minds have been watered down so much because of all of these great advances. Is to the point to where we don't become dissatisfied easy. You know what I mean? Because we have all of these things that right here in our laps. You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. This is the point that I'm making. I want all of you all are mini creators. Don't ever forget that. You're mini creators. You are light. So don't replace your light that you have within you with an LED bulb. Please don't go to Home Depot and replace that light with an LED bulb. Don't do that. Oh, well, Rabbi, I buy this bulb. This bulb will last longer. Yes, I have them throughout my base. I have that. But don't let that replace that light that the Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Jesus of Nazareth talked about that you're to be. And you become satisfied. I tell you, what a great lecture Hakohen gave you. So I'm trying to break his lecture down a little bit so you can understand it at the level where you're at, wherever you may be at. We're all at different levels. We're all at these different levels so that we can move up the ladder, move up another level. We don't want to just stay at a level because that's what you call being satisfied. We want to be dissatisfied so we can move up to the next level. Right? Aren't we always trying to get better? We should be. How many of you are just satisfied with the Torah that you have now? Oh, I'm not. I'm trying to better my Torah every day. I'm trying to even get better at Torah. Don't ever get in Torah and then get complacent and say, oh, I'm home now, so the work is done. No, you're home now, so the work is just beginning. It's time for you to do your chores in the house of the kingdom of the Most Highest. You have chores, by the way. You have chores. You're not, oh, well, I'm home now, so I can put my feet up on the lazy boy chair and eat popcorn and have a remote and go through my channels. No. You're home now. Now it's time to work. Like my wife says, it's time to do homework. Yeah, that's what that's about. So now you're just beginning to do work. Yeah, you're home, Baruch Hashem, that's Jesus of Nazareth, but it's time for you to do work, you see. Rabbi Yosef is saying, how often we think of someone and the person phones us or visits you. Oh, indeed. That's your mind working for you. You don't have to get an email for that. We need to exercise our minds. Just like we like to exercise our bodies. We need to nourish our minds and don't let them get watered down with all this technology. I thank God world over that there will be people in life that will always be dissatisfied. They're not happy. Well, they're happy with their dissatisfaction, with their being dissatisfied. And so they're happy to look at something even better. That's the ground roots of human nature. Yes, we make mistakes, we do things wrong, but we always strive for betterment. Betterment of us as a people, betterment of us as individuals, betterment of us as family, betterment of us as a society and a humanity. It's to always try to better it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a healthy way of life. But it's when you get complacent. What does the Torah tell us? You see, Rabbi Yosef is in Chief Rabbi Kefa, are there specific Torah meditations for this development? No, there's nothing specific about it. No specific, things that you can just pull right out of our books. I think that's developed based on experience and based on relationship. You see, because I'll tell you this, if you notice, like in ancient times, our family was tight. They were close-knit, in other words, you see. And there was not a lot of these distractions. You see, that's one of the great benefits that we have today. Is that we have, today was a lot more distractions than back when ancient times. I talked about Moses not having a tablet, yet you all tell me he had 2 tablets. Moses didn't have a tablet. Moses didn't have, all of this, wireless internet and all of these things at his disposal. Yet these people, our forefathers, our ancestors, our patriarchs and matriarchs, they did such great things for the God of Israel. Such great and marvelous things. Great miracles were performed through these people. By the hand of the Most Highest, the hand of the Master, of course. But we must facilitate and be facilitators. We must have this, we must be this antenna that can do those same things today. Maybe not on that level. Maybe we're on mini-me level. But we need to do this. We are many creators. Many creators. I want you all to understand that. You all are you creating your family. All of you that have children, you're many creators with God Himself, as you brought forth life. Son or daughter. You're many creators. Maybe you create businesses. Maybe some of you're entrepreneurs. You're creating new vehicles, new gadgets. You're inventors. You're creating things. This is within our makeup. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? I just want you to go look through history. You can Google this later if you want. But go look through history. And you'll see, like, the great inventions, the great creators that created things. A majority of them were Jews. Do you not believe it or not? convert, revert, I don't care. Well, Rabbi Kefa, you talk about this. They were under the umbrella of the Torah. Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute. They all proclaim to be Jews. Chosen or frozen, doesn't matter. They proclaim to be Jews. And if you look here at early American history. Now, let me say this real quick. This man that they celebrate on Monday, what's his name? Y'all know. This holiday they have for this man on Monday, what's his name? Some of you don't have to go to work that day. Or the markets are closed or whatever because of this man. What's his name? Columbus. Guess who Columbus was? Rabbi, but they calls him Chris. Guess what Columbus was? Guess what? Exactly. Thank you. Now, they said he discovered America. Now, we know that history is kind of skewed. But anyway, he's getting credit for this. You see? Skewed history, by the way. Because, you know, many more people came before Columbus even got here, by the way. They're just not given the credit. But anyway, let's just face it. This man was given, you know, credited for discovering America. What was he? Now, piggybacking on the son of Aaron's lecture, he talked about commitment. This man had a commitment to go and sail the seas, find this place. So be it. His commitment was strong. He's rewarded for his commitment. See, these are the kind of things that we have to look at and examine. And all of you, now let me go back to my topic. I prefaced my topic before this that I wanted to discuss as well. When we look at early Americas, now we know a lot of credit for these inventions here in America were given to a lot of the wrong people. I know that, and a lot of you know that as well. But people of color have created some great things. How many of you like the PB&J? I love me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Who created peanut butter? Where did peanut butter come from? Think about this, you see. People of color. Some maybe even of Hebrew descent. You see, there may be a Hebrew behind that cotton gin that they said Eli Whitney created. Maybe some Hebrew hands behind that. Some children of Israel hands behind that. Creativity, you see. Inventions. You think this way. See, these are many creators. The God of Israel, He uses these people. He uses human beings to bring forth great things and help us in society. Help us in humanity. Make this world a happier and a better place. I know I'm happy when I'm eating my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So Walker says, I'll eat a PB&J sandwich right now. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. And I guarantee he's happy eating his PB&J. You see? Many people like to go to Washington, D.C. and go to the White House. But do you know who built the White House? And do you know that the White House was called the Black House before it was the White House? Think about that for a minute. Before it burned down. I would encourage you to look at these factors. Many creators, Mishpachah. Many creators. If you're under the confines, I don't care, under the umbrella of the Torah, I really don't care what your revelation of the Torah is and what level of revelation that you have. But if you're under the umbrella of the Torah, I mean, that's, you know, one of the characteristics is that you're going to be a mini creator. You're going to create things. All of you in this room have an ability. You have a skill. You have an idea. Some of you have been given many ideas, but you haven't taken those ideas. You haven't been committed to even your own ideas. And you wonder why you can't make $1 out of 15 cents. And the Chokhmah is just giving you idea after idea, a revelation, a groundbreaking new invention that's going to change the world. My goodness. If you see what's going on in the Holy Land in Israel today, they are creating all kind of inventions today. Some groundbreaking stuff that they're doing. Technology. In Israel. Baruch Hashem. I say Baruch Hashem. Same way here in America, great inventions are, same way, great inventions are occurring. People are doing great things to help and aid humanity. Many creators. As, let's face it, at the end of the day, what? We are all created by who? By the Creator, right? Let's not muck around and beat around the bush here. As we go back to the beginnings, everybody, whether they want to believe it la-di-da-di, they want to try to, explain it away as something, this, that, the other, and the third. But majority of people understand that they were created by a higher power. People want to say it's a bomb, a meteor. Well, who created the bomb? Who created the meteor? People want to say it was the monkey. Well, who created the monkey? Let's get back to the ground roots. You see what I'm saying? You see? We need to look at these factors. And I want to encourage all of you, you many creators. You're creators. My cheer for you today is to go out and create. Be committed to creation. Rabbi Kefa, what you tell me to do? I'm an old lady. How you want me to have another baby? It may not be having a baby. You see? Rabbi Veneer saying the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement indeed. We're to be a light to these nations. How are we going to be a light to these nations but to improve them, to make them a better place, to make the world happy? You see? You see? This is what we have to look at. And in doing that is great blessings, not only for you, but because you're supposed to be a blessing for these nations. You are. And then in turn, as the nation blesses you, you'll be blessed. Or they'll be blessed. As the nations bless you, they'll be blessed. And that can happen on the ground roots level. So I'm telling you, today is a come together time under the Torah to really see and understand, what's really going on here. Many creators. You all are many creators, Mishpahat. Never doubt yourself. Never doubt your ability. Never doubt your creatism. And never just brush it off as just, that'll never happen. Oh, I'll never do that. Oh, that's a good idea, but, I don't have the money to do that. I don't have this, that. You'll never get anywhere like that. Some of you have some great ideas. I would encourage, I don't know if Shane Yah's in the room, but if he's in the room, this man can take your ideas, he can put them on paper, and you can see he can birth your idea that you have in your head. He can put it on paper for you and help you see it and direct you and guide you and help you bring forth life. Some of you have some great ideas. You just need assistance. And there's folks in this room, your family, that can help you and assist you. Because they have the talents that you need to get forward, to move it forward, to push it another step forward. Many creators, all of you have that ability. And I tell you this. This is when you begin to understand that if you provide a service to the nation that you're in, give them a service. Look at there's always a need. There's a service that needs to be provided. When you provide a service, you'll be served. Think about that. You all have great ideas, great talents, great abilities. Provide a service to another person. And in doing that, you will be served. Think about that for a minute. Have that mindset of servitude or service. And I'm telling you, that business will take off. It'll flourish. Because that's one of our greatest characteristics as well, is to be a servant, to be humble, lowly, and to be of assistance to others. And always be dissatisfied with your condition. And the satisfier will help you. You believe me. And when you become satisfied, you'll become dissatisfied again. It's a vicious cycle. This is called human nature. But through all of this, be what? Be happy. At the end of the day, be happy. Be dissatisfied, but be happy. Well, Rabbi Kefa, how can you do both? There's no way you could be dissatisfied and happy at the same time. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It can happen. But you see, you have to will it for yourself. Nobody can will it for you. You have to will it for yourself. Once you will it for yourself, then you become committed to it. And once you're committed to it, then it becomes life. Because let's go back and look at the garden. If we remember, well, let's finish asking the question, because I didn't get enough responses on what was the Father doing in this parsha. When we look back from chapter 1 of Bereshith, of Genesis, all the way to chapter 6, what is going on in here? There's a pattern of division, of separation. We see that. Days were divided. The Shabbat was given its own place. We see that. What else was going on? Relationships. Somebody talked about creation, but also relationship was established. In the very beginnings, this is what's going to be established. And then there was separation. And then we see the God of Israel. He takes Adam and he moves him. And some of you may be in that stage right now, where he's going to take you and he's going to move you to another place. He's going to put you in a garden. And we see with the garden, what was in the garden? Anybody give us some examples of what we saw, what was explained that was in the garden? We talk about this garden. And we're told that Adam was given a commandment. He was given a commandment to take care of the garden. You see? Given a commandment to take care of the garden. Simha saying many inventions that were not patented, like the ice car, air mask, are credited to African Americans. The indigenous in this society were very innovative. Yes, they were. Look at the TV. Look at the movie Forgotten Figures. Women mathematician professors for NASA. Also Forgotten Scientists, a documentary on YouTube. You're so right about that. You're so right about that. There was a hole in the garden. What do you mean by a hole? He was to till the garden. He was to work the garden. Adam was given a commandment to take care of the garden. You must care for the garden. Yes, he was moved over to the God of Israel, led him and moved him. And then what else do we know about the garden and what the God of Israel was doing here? You see? What do we know about that? What is explained to us? What do we know? See, we must begin to take this and open up and make the Torah real in our life, because Torah is about life. And I just gave you a hint what was in the garden. There was a tree in that garden that was called the tree of what? It was a tree. Trees of what? There was a tree. There was a tree of life, right? And this is what I want to concentrate on, because we already know what happened to the tree of what? The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We know about that tree. But there was a tree of life in that garden. You see, most people today, when it comes to making a choice between, the choice of the tree of life opposed to the choice of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, most people are choosing the tree of the knowledge of good and evil over the tree of life, of truly living life to its fullest, because their motivation is to have the knowledge so they can make the money and then they can get the power. That's what Tony Montana said. Scarface said, you got to get you got to get the money, then you get the power. You see. So most people run for that tree. They love to pluck from that tree. You see. But what we need to be doing is looking at that tree of life. And that's what we're supposed to be doing here in 2018, is living life. Yes, we know what's ahead. We already know. We have a great advantage of knowing what happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future. But you know what's skewed is what's going to happen in between that. This is where you come in, and you have the ability to create, be many creators, and create for yourself a life, a full life. How many of you in this room right now can say, okay, Rabbi, I literally can say my life is full now? I'm not. I can't say that right now. But I can say I'm trying to get there. And then when I get to that full part, guess what? I'm dissatisfied because I want more. I want it to get fuller. And I want it to get even more fuller. I want my cup to run over. Isn't that what we told in our books? Don't we want our cup to run over, or we just want our cup full? We all just fill it, Rabbi, I'm happy with it filled. Or do you want your cup running over? You see? I mean, this is good stuff, Mishpah. But we have to really understand it so we can begin to apply it. I want my cup to continue to run over. So I'm going to always be dissatisfied because I want more from the Most High. I want more from the kingdom of the Most Highest. Just like I know the kingdom of the Most Highest wants more from me. You see? So I'm always, I guess if I use a Gentile terminology, I'm always pushing the envelope. How many of you know what I mean? I'm always pushing the envelope. I'm always pushing it. Come on, let's go further. Yeah, but we already went a mile. Okay, let's go 2 miles. You see? Because at the same time, in all of this, I'm giving esteem to the Abba. I'm giving esteem to the Father. I'm giving esteem to the Master. I'm giving esteem to the Imhokmah. That's the key. Because the reason why we were created was to get esteem, to edify, to extol the name of the Most High, to lift Him up, you see. That's what we need to look at and examine today going forward, Mishpah. When we look at creationism. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. It's an awesome thing that the God of Israel did. Like be, like was. My goodness. But at the same time, we can take that on a lower level as many creators. Many creators. And we can create our world that we live in. We can separate those out of it. We can do everything that was done, that we see done in the Torah, but just on a believe me, a way watered down scale. And if you really look at it, you could probably say your life have been just that. It's been a replica of what happened in the beginnings. You had to as you create your world, you had to separate some things out of your world. You put some things in your world. You made some attachments, and then you detached. You separated some things. You're making great relationships around you in your world. Think about it. This is what's going on around as you're creating your world. Some people you're close to. Some people you're not so close to. Some people you know to steer clear and stay away from. And that's a relationship. That's a healthy relationship. In some instances, is that you know and you understand is that some people I can't be around. So let me distance myself from these people. But at the same time, hey, I'm there for you. You need me, call me. But don't expect me to, go break bread with you. Because that may be the same time that, DEA is breaking down the doors, coming in your house because, of some unsavory things that you have going on over there. You know what I mean? So these kind of folks you have to distance yourself from. Keep them at a distance. And some of this behavior you may see is not folks, but actually family members that you may associate, you may have to disassociate yourself with, because you find that association is just not conducive for peace. Besides you being humble and being happy, stay humble, stay happy. My desire is that you all have peace. Because how are you going to be the shalom, the peacemakers, when you don't even have peace yourself? And sometimes, distance brings peace. Sometimes you have to distance yourself from those that you really care about. You have to distance yourself, and that gives you that peace of mind. That gives you that peaceful state that you want to dwell in, because you can't have peace around these people, because there's always clashing. You see, there's always the clash of the titans going on. You don't want that. I found in my personal life that with those that I love, is that our relationship is more healthier being further apart, or just being at a distance. Our relationship actually gets better, and there's peace there, than having to be on top of each other, and that just seems not to work too well. Because the two can't come into agreement, right? So what do you do? I can agree to disagree, but you'll find some people have the character makeup of always wanting to be right, and they will. I tell you, they will always want to be right 100% of the time, and they're going to tell you that they're right, and until you tell them that they're right, then you're wrong. How many of you dealt with these kind of people? I mean, these people that's close to you, maybe family members, friends, loved ones, sister, brother, and then, so you have to, you have to distance yourself from these people and leave them to it. Leave them in their right state. This is righteousness in a Gentile understanding. Isn't they always right? You must distance yourself from these people, and you'll find that the relationship will be better at a distance, and that you both can have peace. There can be peace because you distance yourself. And this is what Torah is trying to explain to us here. The Most Highest is giving us an example of separation. He separated the day from the night. There's a separation. When you come back to the God of Israel, when you come back to the Torah of Moses, you're going to realize that there are a lot of separations that are going to occur in your life. There's a lot of relationship separations. There's a lot of separations that are going to occur within your own self. These are good separations. You see, because you need clarity. You need order now. Your life has been in disarray. Your life has been in disorder. Now it's going to have to be placed in order. Because now you're under the kingdom of the Most Highest. So there must be order. I hope you all understand that. There must be order. So I think that's very, very important for us to understand. Very, very important that we understand that. Very, very important. Is everything needs to be placed in order in the kingdom of the Most Highest. Thus, we need to separate some things. How many of you went through the separation phase already? Anyone in this room? Put up a capital S if you've been through the part where, the God of Israel does the separating. It could be separation from your family, separation from your mother or father, that you literally have to separate. Not that, you just distance yourself, because distance is where you get clarity sometimes. Distance is where you get that peace that you need, that you desire. Is that, to for your responses, by the way, is that you must separate. Is that you have to separate, then your mind can become clear. Then you can begin to create that world that you desire for yourself. Because you play a key role in your creationism, in your creating of this world. Because you're going to have to move some things in, some things out. It's like spring cleaning. Some things you just have to take out, let them get some air for a little while, then you can bring them back in your house. Some things you take out, you put it in the front yard, and you hoping somebody come and take it. You know what I mean? So that's part and parcel of what needs to be done, and we're all going through that in some phases of our life. There are seasons of separation. There's seasons of gathering. There's seasons. And you must understand that. It's not that the Abba has, forsaken you. No, it's just that you're going through this particular season. Season of separation, season of gathering. Right now, if I look at my house, I would say I'm in the season of gathering. I went through that season of separation. Well, I was separated from my wife. Now there's a gathering. We're together. Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth for that. But we're together. So now I'm in that season of gathering. Now when you examine your life, you may be in another season. There's a season of coming in. There's a season of going out, right? You have to look and see where you're at in the kingdom of the Most Highest. Where you're fitting in right now. As being the mini creator for yourself. And when you begin to really understand, the beauty of the Torah on a ground roots level, that's when you begin to understand how to live life. We're all given the gift of life, but not many people know how to take that gift and really use it. And that's really sad. This is where all of you come in, as being the great listeners, as being the great people that people come to vent to, as being the great people where they can come to and get wisdom, as some people may tell you. Oh, I like your wisdom. Oh, Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth. And you can begin to create that world for yourself and introduce those people that need to come into your life and those that need to be put out, because that needs to happen. I tell you, it was quite instructional for me, because I consider myself a giving person. Especially when you see these people on the side of the road. You see them at the street lights. Light is red and they have their signs. This is one man. He's always at this bus stop and he's sitting down. Kind of obese man. He's a big man. But he sits at this bus stop every single day. And when the cars stop at the stoplight, boy, he's stopping everybody saying, hey, can you give me some money? Can you give me some money? And I remember what the son of Aaron said in one of his lectures. He said, you can't give money to, can't keep giving money to these people. Otherwise, they'll never learn to be able to take care of themselves. They'll always be dependent instead of independent. I thought, wow, that's so very true. Because this man at this bus stop, he stays there every day like clockwork. He's there trying to collect money. So how are you making this man better himself? You're actually enabling this person. How many of you know what I mean? Maybe some of you are great givers like I am. Maybe you need to start putting that money back in your wallet because you're doing this man a favor. Or doing that woman a favor by not giving them anything. To where they'll get to the point of festivity, and they'll begin to understand this and say, look, I'm dissatisfied with my condition. I need to change my situation. But you must understand, you must not become an enabler. To where you enable, if you keep giving $5 to this man every time you see him, you think that man's going to ever leave? That bus stop, he's going to stay there. Oh, I know, it's like clockwork. This man's going to come, he's going to give me $5. Instead of teaching that man, no $5 for you, you get on your Tom and Jerry and you go out and you create your world. Wow, how about that? I learned that from Nicole, from the son of Aaron. I was like, wow, I got to quit doing that. Because you see these same people, and they're always there. So they never take it to the next level. They're what? They're satisfied with just taking other people's money and not going out and being a productive citizen. So what do you have to do? You keep your money in your wallet and you keep it rolling. And you act like these people don't even exist in your world, to where they get to that point of festivity. They say, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You have to allow people to get to that point, to where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they'll get off their backside and they'll use their talent. They quit feeling sorry for themselves, and they'll use their talents and abilities to do great things, to be contributors to humanity at whatever level that may be. We create our worlds. We create them. We are the creators of our world. So the question I have for you today is, what kind of world do you want to create? We see the creator of the heavens and the universes. He's putting everything in place. You see, before the Torah, maybe most of you can say just like me, your life was in disarray. It was in shambles. You didn't know whether you were coming or you was going. But when you come under the umbrella of the Torah, when you decide to take the yoke of the Torah upon you, when you decide that you want to follow the kingdom of the Most Highest, what happens? Your life becomes order. Your life begins to get in order. Things need to happen this way, this way. Now, these things may take years to formulate, but you'll begin to see an order come to your life, to your world. There'll be an order. That's the first sign. Then there'll be some separation. That's the second sign. You see, Rabbi Kefa says, when our stomach starts scratching our back, it's amazing how motivated we can become, aka committed to make it happen. Oh, indeed. But how can we allow folks to get to that point when we're enabling them by keep giving them money? Oh, okay, here you go. I feel sorry for you here. Oh, I feel sorry for you too. That's why I'm not going to give you any money. How about that? You see, I feel so sorry for you that I'm not going to give you this money that I have in my wallet that's in my little ashtray where my cigarette is supposed to go because I don't smoke cigarettes. You see? So I just put my little change in there, put little dollars in there that I get, put them there. So I feel so sorry for you. I'm not going to give this to you because I want you to get off your backside. And I want you to make it happen for yourself. Your chances totally say that. Maybe a sandwich, luxury class. Luxury class, not even a sandwich. Not even a peanut butter and jelly. Because they need to get so hungry to where they want to get off their back. Like Rabbi Kefa says, stomach growling to where it's punching them in the face. Stomach so hungry, it's punching them in the face, you see. And then they decide to do something for themselves. I'm willing to help those that's willing to help themselves. But if you're not willing to help yourself, my goodness, I can't help you. I feel so sorry for you that I can't help you. Because you're not even willing to help yourself. You're not even willing to create your own world, you see. I'm willing to assist you, but you got to be doing something. Torah's the same way. Torah will assist you, but you got to take some action. You must do something. You can't sit in your lazy boy chair and say you're in the Torah when you're not walking out this Torah on the Tom and the Jerry, the left foot and the right foot. Who are you fooling? We must be many creators. Many creators, Mishpahah. And we must understand is what happened to us in the garden, happened to our forefathers in the garden. We were excommunicated. And then we were told, yes, you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to work for your bread and for your meat. You're going to have to go out and work for it. You're going to go out and sweat for it. Well, come on. I know we can't hold the Gentiles to our Torah standard. We cannot do that. But at the end of the day, every one of these human beings were created and they come from Adam. So this law about working for your meat, that applies. Now, sweat may be relative to some folks. But we must go out. It's just not going to be given to you. You see, remember, in the garden, wasn't the fruit it was just given to you. It was there. You could just pick the fruit right off the tree. You didn't have to do anything. The fruit it's there. Those days are over. Those days when you could just pick the fruit from the tree and it's just there, it's just there. Whatever you could imagine, it was there. You could eat it and it would be that. No. Now you have to go out and make it. It's not just going to be there. You have to go out and work for it, make it, cook it for yourself, season it like you like it, then you eat it. Could you imagine a time when anything you desired, it was just there. You could just take it. Wow. Those days are over. Those days are done. Now humanity needs to work. We need to work collectively as a whole. Because last time I checked, who was given dominion over this earth? Man was. So we all have to work at it together. Man was and is. So I don't care what kind of man you are, a Torah man, Christian man, Catholic man, you see, then we're all in this together. In this world, you see. Luxury class is saying if a man don't work, he shouldn't eat. The book talks about. Oh, indeed. And this is one of the things that the son of Aaron was talking about. He was saying, well, if that's the case, then why are we giving this person money? Why are we giving this person a sandwich? Why are we giving this person some canned goods? No, you don't work, you don't eat. Well, in his defense, he may be saying, well, I am working. I'm standing out in this hot San Antonio heat with this sign trying to collect something. You see what I'm saying? That's what he may be saying in his defense. So these are things that we need to look at. we need to take him into consideration, you see. It's very important that we do that. We must look at it. We must look at it from their point of view. Understand where they're at. Even though we may not have walked one day in their shoes, we must have an understanding where they're at. And there's always, my goodness, there's so many great jobs here in North America that you can take advantage of. But many people don't want to do them because they feel like these jobs are too far beyond, too far beneath them. Oh, well, what do you mean you want me to flip chicken? I can't flip chicken. I did this. I went to this school. I did this. I'm not going to flip chicken here in San Antonio. You can drop some chicken at Popeyes or at these other chicken joints here in San Antonio, and you can make $10 an hour doing that. Oh, but that's far beyond. I'm too beyond that. I can't do that. You know what they tell you? Oh, I'm overqualified for that position. Oh, are you? To drop some chicken in some grease and make $10 an hour? Oh no, that's far beyond me. So I'll stay unemployed. You don't work, you don't eat, my man. At the end of the day, you see, these are the kind of worlds that folks are creating for themselves. So we have to begin to understand, what kind of world do people want to create for themselves? Some like the chaotic type world. Some like the destructive type world. Some like the disastrous type world. I like a world of peace, a world of shalom, a world of productivity, a world of contribution. I want to contribute. We're supposed to be lights to these nations, then we need to contribute. A light doesn't say, it just does. Light in itself deals with the darkness. And this is why people are so drawn to you Torah keepers. Those of you who want to stand upright before the Most Highest. Those of you who desire and aspire to be in the kingdom of the Most Highest. That's why people come to you. Oh, I feel like I can talk to you. Oh, you're such a kind person. I never see you get angry. I feel like I can vent to you. Oh, you have so much wisdom. I just wanted your opinion on this. My goodness, this is what a beautiful thing. What a great testament to the God of Israel, to the kingdom of the Most Highest. When folks come to you, see now what I just described as being a great example of light. That's what light just does. It sits there and people are drawn to them. It's just drawn to you. You don't have to, light don't go out and find you. No. You're there. You just do. Shabbat shalom to you, Captain Todd. But this is just what happens. You're just drawn to it, and it's not no formula to it. You just do it. Your character makeup, and this is what people watch. They look at your character. They look at who you are. They look at what you do. They look and see how you perform under pressure. When the pressure cooker's turned up, what do? Do you jump on the bandwagon with those that are going to slander and put you down and run you under the bus? Or do you just continue doing what you need to do? You continue to press on with the mission, even though the pressure's turned up. It doesn't matter. People watch you. You see, they watch you. And then they're drawn to you. It's not our remit, Mishpachah. It's not our mandate as Torah followers to go to the four corners of this earth and to tell everybody about the Torah. No, that's not our remit. Our only remit is to live this way of life. It's to live life. And those that see this lifestyle, this way of life, and desire it, they'll come to you with questions. They may not even want to, they may not even want your way of life. They may not even want to take up, but they know where to come to when the rubber hits the road. They know where to find peace. They know where to find that shalom. You see, Rabbi Bani is talking about a story of a philanthropist who felt like giving $20 every day to a guy he saw every day with a tin cup. The first day, the guy with the tin cup was hesitant to take $20, as nobody ever gave him $20. The second day, he was less hesitant to take $20. The third day, he thanked the philanthropist for the $20. On the fourth day, the philanthropist decided not to give out $20 to the guy with the tin cup and kept walking. The guy with the tin cup proceeded to jack the philanthropist. The philanthropist up against the wall, demanding the $20. Indeed, what a great analogy there, Rabbi Bania. Where does philanthropy get you? Well, we see where it can get you. You see, because the character of some people is not to take that $20 and go and multiply it, but to sit on it, and then sit on another $20, and sit on another $20, because it keeps coming to them. You see. So the state of being dissatisfied is so important. We always need to be dissatisfied. Don't be happy. Be happy with your non-condition to make your condition even better. See, you again, I think it's important that we do understand that. Is that we don't need to get complacent as Torah followers. There's always room for improvement. We can always better ourselves, you see. We can always better ourselves. I think that's so very important to understand. So very important. So very important to understand is that we can always better ourselves and create a better world for ourselves. Now, I know in today's time there are a lot of distractions that'll prevent you from maybe wanting to do that at the caliber where you think you need to do that. This is why I encourage you to take the time. I'm a fan of technology. I have no problem with technology. I use technology. I think it's a great thing. But in the meantime, I don't want us to forget about relationship, because in the beginnings, the Creator was very big on relationship, wasn't he? He said, I see that Adam had become alone. I need to provide a helpmeet for him. But then the first thing, as we see in our books, is what the God of Israel do. Adam became the what? He became the man with the most pets. That's the best way to describe it. He became the man with the most pets. He became the number one pet lover. Why? Because he began to name all the animals. So he became a pet lover. Still, even then, even after that, even though he had man's best friend, Adam still needed a helper. Still needed a helper, Mishpachah. So we see relationship. We see the relationship with animals. First, we see the relationship with plants. Because Torah tells us is that Adam was placed where? In a garden. Can anybody tell me what's in a garden? Anybody? Anybody want to take a shot at that one? Anybody tell me what's in the garden? So you see the relationship. First, we see the relationship with plants. Do you see it? Here's some great understanding. Do you see the relationship with plants? Humanity, we need to have a relationship with plants. I love plants. I love plants. I'm growing them. I speak to them. I eat them. Plants are very good. And then what's the next relationship we see? We see the relationship with animals. Although at the same time, Adam had a relationship firstly with his woman, you see. With his woman first. Who we know of, who's been blotted out of our books, who we know of as Lilith. My goodness. But as someone stated earlier, there was a hole in the garden. And we're not talking about the garden tool. Lilith had other agenda that she wanted to do. So, the concentration of the plant kingdom, Adam took control of that. Then we look at the relationship with the animal kingdom. So then, couldn't get it right with the relationship with the Lilith factor. So she was, put to the side. She was put away. So then Torah tells us that Adam, he had become alone. And that now that he needed a helper. Animals didn't do it. The plants didn't do it. So now Adam is put to sleep. It's taken from his side bones. And now we get, whoa, man. There's a joke going around that said, when Adam first, this is how a woman's name came about. When Adam first saw Eve, the first thing he said was, whoa, man. So that's where we come up with woman. It's like, whoa, man. So that's just a little jokey joke for you there. So I think that's important to understand. He said, whoa, man. So all of you need to be saying the same thing. And your creationism, mini creationism. When you see that woman, you should be saying the same thing. You look at your wife, turn to her right now, you should be saying the same thing. Whoa, man. And you give thanks to the God of Israel for that wonderful creation that came from the sides. that came from the sides of a man. Understanding this, we see the relationship side. Now we move, okay, now there must be, if there's going to be law and order anywhere, there's going to be law and order in the kingdom of the Most High. The kingdom of the Most Highest. He's going to have law. He's going to have order. Structure. We see this all through the formulation of our beginnings. Is that there's structure, there's order, there's separation, there's relationship. All of this stuff is going on. And so we should see on a smaller level all of these same things going on in our lives today, which we do. We see all of these same things going on in our lives. Parallels to where we are today. So I think that's very important for us to understand. Very, very important for us to understand this, Mishpachah. This is where we need to be. This is where we are today. We're many creators. Now, how you shape your world, you can't blame it on the creator. You see? You can't blame it on the creator. We must look at the situation and we must stand on our own 2 feet and only look at ourselves. As we're afforded the ability to choose what we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it, this, that, the other, and the third. So I think that's important to understand. Let me do this real quick. My goodness, man. So I think that's important for us to understand. We have the ability to show you're in right now. Well, then you can reshape it. You can change it up. You can do that. It's not a problem. You have the ability to do that. You can change. Sometimes you have to throw in you have to throw in you have to call in another signal. And if that needs to happen, then so be it, Mishpachah. But you don't have to settle if you're not comfortable with the world that you're in right now. If the world that you're in right now is not that of happiness, and not of peace, oh, then you're going to need to make some changes. Maybe you need to do some of that spring cleaning that we talked about. I guess now you can call it what? Autumn cleaning, to where you need to move some things out, separate some things, put some things outside for a little while, maybe bring them back in, or maybe you need to take some of your things and put them to the front of the street and hoping somebody come and pick them up for you, because you don't need to ever see these things again. We're talking about creating our world. Our world starts with ourselves, and then it broadens out from there. You see? Then it broadens out from there. Well, you need to look at your lives and say, as many creators, all of these, you know our history. You know what happens in our beginning. So the question is, in the beginning was the beginning, but when do you begin? This is the question that I have for you today. When do you begin your beginnings? Your new beginnings. When do you begin? When does it start for you? I don't know when. And to piggyback off the son of Aaron's lecture, I guess it's going to start when you decide to commit. Fully commit. You got to commit fully. Your commitment. What your commitment meter, you have to look at it. Maybe examine that this Shabbat. Maybe you look at your commitment meter. I think there's always room for improvement. We can always get better. I'm striving to always get better. You see? I'm striving always to get better with my commitment. I'm striving to get better. I want to be better. I want to be more pleasing to the Most Highest. I don't want to be pleasing today and then not pleasing tomorrow. I want to build on my pleasing. I want to be more pleasing. I want to be more favored by the God of Israel today than I was yesterday. I want to be more happier than I was yesterday, today. You see? I guess you can say, sum it all this, I want to be the best every day. I want to get better and be best every day and outbest the day before, so that the esteem of the Most Highest can be lifted up and can be extolled and can be exalted. This is truly letting your light shine before men. Now, I'm going to close with this. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go into the birds and the bees for a minute. So I'll give you like 2 minutes if you kind of want to take the children out of the room. It's not going to be too heavy, but we're just going to talk about fallopian tubes, and we're going to talk about egg, and we're going to talk about sperm. So if you don't want the children around at this time, you can move them out. I'll give you a little bit more time to do so, because I think this is very important when we talk about creationism. Because the first thing when we talk about creationism, a lot of folks want to run to the reproductive phase and what happens, which is an important part, of going forth, be fruitful, multiply the earth. That's very important. So we must examine this. So if any of you need to take the children out of the room, please do so at this time. Maybe you haven't explained the birds and the bees to them yet. I understand that. Maybe they're not ready for it. But I want to give an example about something that you can go and you can Google this. You can look it up on YouTube, and it's factual. Now, sometimes people cannot have children. So what do? They turn into in vitro fertilization. How many of you know what that is? Some of you may have, maybe delved with that for a minute. And so what that is what happens is that eggs are taken and from a woman. She only has one egg a month. And so eggs are taken from this woman, and then the sperm from the father, from the mother and the father, is taken. And what they do is they facilitate the sperm let's just say penetrating the egg so that the birth process can start. Now, this birth process that starts, and you can look this up. I want you to go on YouTube and watch these videos on this. It's quite awesome how they do this when they in vitro fertilization process. It's actually called the spark of life. Now, what happens is this: under a microscope, when the sperm actually penetrates the egg, a light. The whole process, they call it the zinc process or whatever, but light it looks like fireworks, because light, when it hits that egg, is when the sperm hits that egg, is actually emitted from the egg, and it actually looks like fireworks are going on. And this is how they know which egg to take. It's amazing. I want y'all after this lecture to go look at this. So at the very beginning of life as we know it, light is actually on the scene, because the egg, when the sperm penetrates that egg, this medical process, a light, it's like a boom, it's a flash of light, and then it goes away. And they say, oh, and you can see it when you Google this on YouTube, you'll see it, and it's called the spark of life. They actually call it the spark of light. They call it this because they see this light, boom, takes place, and boom. I encourage all of you to go watch this, and you'll be amazed. So when the God of Israel says that we are light, and that creation starts with light, it actually starts with light. It's a beautiful thing. So the egg is fertilized, and then they take this egg and they put it into the woman, and then she has a baby, and you know, hooray, hurrah, hallelujah. That's what goes on, and it's such a beautiful thing that from the very scientific, even they're calling it the spark of light, the spark of light. Because this little spark of light, so they know to grab that egg. That's the egg to grab. And you'll see some of the other sperm, you know, some of the other eggs, they never get that spark of light. They never get it. So they know, oh, we don't take this egg. But this egg, man, we saw this. And you see it before you on a computer screen. And you're like, wow, this is the beginnings of a life form. And that life form starts with light. So for those of you who are listening via YouTube, it's called the spark of light. Go and Google that. And it's dealing with in vitro fertilization. Go and see that. So if that happens during in vitro fertilization, it's also happening on the level when a man and a woman come together. That's happening as well. You just don't see it on TV. But it's happening on the inside. That same light is taking place. Boom. And then you have life within that woman's belly. 9 months later, bada boom, bada bing. You have little baby boy, little baby girl, and Baruch Hashem. You went forth, you were fruitful, and you multiplied the earth. Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus, man. So I would like to close with that thought in mind. And I want you all to go Google it after we finish this lecture. You go Google that. You go Google that. It's amazing. It's amazing that even at that scientific level, we're talking about, you know, at that level, light is the factor. Light is. So when you read in your Torah and Bereshith where the Master Elohim is saying light be and light was, my goodness. You are a mini creator. And the super sperm of that man hitting the egg of that woman, his wife, light be and light was. Take that to another level, Mishpachah. Take it to another level. And that's just what's happening as well. So we understand that for the birth process, it's a partnership of three. It's the most highest, it's a man, and it's a woman. They're the partnership in all of us coming into being. Think about that for a minute. Take that to the bank. So on that note, we'll wrap it up for today. And I think I'll title this lecture just that. Many creators. Because that's just what we are. We can create our worlds. We can create our worlds to be a better place or a chaotic one. That's all within our remit. We can do it. I would encourage you to create your world to be a better place. You see? Come together with that husband, with that wife, and create your world. Baruch Hashem, Master Yeshua, Master Jesus of Nazareth. On that note, we'll wrap it up for today, Mishpachah. I'm not going to leave you long. But I do want you to do this. As a part of your homework, see, I'm going to give you some homework. As a part of your homework, I want all of you to go to YouTube. Type up in vitro fertilization, the spark of light, and you'll see it. You'll see it before your very eyes. You'll see it. You'll see it. Go and watch that. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing to sit there and watch that happen. Super sperm. You know, you Hebrew men, you got some super sperm in there. So you putting out some sparks of light. You putting them out there, baby. Let's do it. Let's make this world a better place. Same how saying food for thought. The light of the Creator. The 4 words of the elements of the world: the water, the earth, the wind, and the fire. Plants, animals, human beings. Comes peace and understanding for communication, and with communication comes understanding. That is wonderful. Shalom, shalom to all. Shalom, shalom to you, Simha. And so all of you, go do your homework now. Don't start eating that Shabbat meal till you go and watch on YouTube. You go and watch the Spark of Light with in vitro fertilization, the IVF they call it. So you go and watch that, and I tell you, that'll really, it'll actually give you some goosebumps when you see what happens on that level, and you see that I tell you, it's a beautiful thing. Go and watch it. We'll talk next Shabbat about it, but I tell you, it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Light be and light truly was. Shabbat shalom to all of you, Mishpachah. You all have a wonderful Shabbat. Enjoy your Shabbat. Enjoy your 6 days of labor ahead. And shalom shalom to you across the pond. Take care.